Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to day number 3 of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. My name is Imperium, and I'm joined by the luscious, the fabulous, the ever delicious, the attractive, the most talented man in the world, Zute. How are you doing?
Thank you. So today I don't have my hat because I don't know, man. You've been complimenting so much. I just gotta let the hair flow free today. So, and I'm also equally as excited for today's games.
Wait. So you're in a different city. You took a flight somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You don't have your hat with you.
No, I have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is.
Clearly, I get you're trying to impress someone. It's fine. We won't talk about it. Because it's fine. But we're ready. We're going to be getting into four games of fantastic action. Having a look at what is coming up and what we've seen so far. I think we can both agree that the action has been pretty heavily packed in the teams. In a lot of times, have been pretty impressive.
Yeah, so each day the action has just been getting better, and honestly, day 2 was a big difference from day 1, with some of the teams coming in particular, like, Eastern Stars. So going into day number 3, I don't know if the action could get that much better. I think we've kind of hit a point where the teams are just starting to, really understand each other's play style. But I will say, though, Imperium, I feel like there's going to be 5 or 6 teams that just start dominating the rest of the tournament just because they've got a comfortable feel of how the lobby plays out, and they can start taking advantage of, their own skill set and start playing their own game.
We kind of did see that yesterday, right? Across, I think, the first 3 games, we had somewhat the same top 3, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. We do need to consider that every single day you have one group missing, right? So you have 5 groups of 4 teams. One group is missing per day. Today it's Group B, so there's going to be no Game Lord, no the 100, no Golden Esports, and no LMV. And that brings us to the overall rankings, right? So we see right now, France is on 157 points, followed closely by Germany. That gap is pretty close, but Game Lord, who has been the biggest point earner for the French community, are not playing in today's games.
Yeah, so France is definitely going to slip behind a little bit here. But, at the end of the tournament, everybody's going to play the same amount. So we'll start seeing, all these points balance out in terms of, everybody gets a fair shot at getting all the points they can. But you're absolutely right. We do expect Germany, to shoot up there. And that might, be a good or bad thing. Because when you're sitting in first place, the second place, community or team has a good idea of exactly what they need to do to overtake that first place.
Like, to give you an idea of how imperative Game Lord have been to the French community in these games so far, out of the 157 points, Game Lord have 116. That's a good, 2/3 worth of their points secured by one of the teams. So, Chazmak, it's your time to step up to the plate and show us what you have got. Plus, not having Game Lord in today's 4 games, it does open the door for a couple of teams who really haven't been performing that well, such as, I'm kind of highlighting Team Bravis, who only got 7 points yesterday, Team Glore, who only got 14 points yesterday, for them to hopefully get a couple of decent results.
Yeah, a couple of decent results. Maybe they could start it off strong on this first one, because we will be heading into Erangel. And of course, today's maps, you saw earlier, we're going to have Erangel, we're going to have Miramar, and we're going to have Sandhawk, and we're going to end it with Erangel. But this one, to start off, Imperium, the plane path, it's looking pretty decent. It's on the northern side, flying from west to east, but, not too difficult to get to the rest of the map with a plane path like this.
I know 7up will be very happy with the fact that Game Lord aren't in today's lobby, because that gives them Yasnaya all to themselves. So it means that they'll be able to hopefully prioritize a quicker looting phase, a quicker rotational phase, and get into a bit of a stronger position in the early parts of this game.
Yes, definitely. I want to see teams start taking more advantage of the first circle that pops up. We've seen some of them, where the first circle pops up, and you even pointed it out. You expected some teams to be like on top of the lumber yard when yesterday's Erangel game, the center of the zone was up there, but we saw no teams go up there because nobody rotated. They just kind of sat around the off center edge, and that prevented other teams from being able to cut in. So maybe, these teams, the teams that are struggling, will start to develop a little bit more as the days go on. We've already seen the teams that, already know what to do yesterday just really take it away and start, running away with things.
Does seem like Pachinki is going to be a little bit contested in today's games. I'm not exactly sure who is there, but Phase 1 has popped up, and we're looking towards a military island finish. Now, as of right now, nobody is there. That makes sense with quite a northern plane path, but interesting to see who's going to go for a possibly much quicker rotation into the military island.
Yes, this is I believe it might be the first military island of this tournament. If not, yeah, I think we had a zone that was like, it could have been 50-50, but it went back up north. So this time, it's going to be the first time we'll see how teams adjust to a military zone. And Mega Power here getting into a fight with SDG Showdown Gaming from the UK side. Mega Power, a very strong team. We saw them have very consistent finishes yesterday, but we've never really seen how they would fare in a Pachinki hot drop situation. And as far as I'm concerned, SDG does have the angles set up. I like their setup, but typically it takes a really strong team to play split like this. And if they're not done correctly, they could easily get isolated one by one.
For sure. High risk, high reward with how Showdown have themselves currently set up. You got to be able to thread the needle of create a little bit of kind of, like a dog shepherd that kind of moves the sheep around in through the gate. That's what one or two of the Showdown players need to do with Mega Power, right? You need to line them up so the players who are on the other angle are able to take them out from behind. Something along those lines. I know it's easier said than done, but that's what you need to be looking for. Otherwise, you put yourself in a risky position of being picked off one by one by the Mega Power players. So we'll have to wait and see. It was a great day for Mega Power yesterday. They got a total of Mega Power yesterday got a total of 62 points, including an 18-point to 16-point and a 26-point game in the first 3 games. So great game, great day for Mega Power yesterday. Let's see if they can follow suit. We move on over to Lemniscade, looking to take a couple of shots towards Chazmak, who are going for an early rotation across the military island.
Yeah, very smart rotation. Chazmak definitely taking advantage of that circle. It's really good to see. And the thing is, they probably know nobody's down there looting because of the plane path. So they could even just totally forgo their original plan, their original drop spot, and just rotate and loot Military Island instead. Now, back to this fight in Pachinki. This is actually quite an important fight. So we have Mega Power representing the Nordic countries, and we have SDG representing the UK side of things. They're actually really close in points. Nordic right now has a total of 129, and the United Kingdom has 114. So both of these teams representing their respective communities are actually really close in points, and just whoever could win that fight right there will easily be able to leapfrog ahead for the rest of the day.
And it's an important day for Showdown because they're the sole UK representatives in today's 4 games. The 100 are not here to support them, so it's even more vital that they are able to kind of build on what they did yesterday. Because again, it was it was a good turnaround for Showdown yesterday in the amount of points they were able to accrue over the 4 games. The start of this game 1 of day 3. You're in Pachinki with Mega Power, and they seem to be pretty proactive. I see a little bit more of a proactive movement from Showdown compared to Mega Power.
Mega Power right now playing more of a defensive split. We saw earlier it was actually Showdown that had, the multiple angles, but it looks like they decided to group up to start just isolating the push one by one. This is a strategy that works, and it's, more catered to, teams that aren't as skilled with coordination. So you just kind of group up together and push. So it's nice to see they made that adjustment instead of trying to, you know, take the multiple angles and potentially getting isolated. And Clay right there getting his car a little bit. Oh, and he kind of hit some of the land on his way down and lost half of his HP. And now he's going to take a boat.
I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't try to represent this country in the Olympics anytime soon as a diver, because I don't think it would work out too well for him. As well as getting his car stuck. But we are seeing once again, a couple more teams starting to rotate in through the circle of this phase 1. But Showdown Gaming starting to make a push. Premix, in my opinion, Premix needs to be a lot more far forward
up,
so he can kind of further up so he can kind of support his 3 teammates on that side angle.
Yeah, that side angle, if he was a bit further up, you see that big cross in the middle where he could potentially cut off a player. He needs to be able to get an angle on that rather than sitting back here. And you can see he's trying to run over to support his teammate, but he was not set up in the right place. And well, Mega Power is just starting the fight already. There's 2 down from Showdown, but they managed to get a knock and a thirst onto Mega Power, and they're turning the favor right there. I believe it's down to a 3v2 situation.
This is looking good, and Mega Power is cleaning it up. Showdown Gaming, the UK representative, meet their maker in the form of the Nordic side.
I mean, I get that they tried to take the fight, which I like, but it was just very sloppily executed, right? Like you even pointed out, the support angle, the off angle player was nowhere ready to support the 3 others, and the 3 others started an engagement, and ultimately that cost them to lose that.
LENDER trying to camp a couple of players making their way into the military island on this phase 1. See if they can pick up a cheeky kill or 2 in the form of 7-Up, but they've been able to move away. Just one of the 7-Up players took a bit of damage, first aid being laid down, so he's back up to 75% health. I like that from LENDER because it's something that can catch a few teams out in this kind of level. You might not be sure if a team is camping the northern side of that bridge, and they nearly got a couple of kills for their effort.
I would rather LENDER camp the bridge area, like more next to the gas station, because 7-Up could still easily circumvent their defense, so to say, and then they would have the priority. Oh, actually, looking at the mini map, if you take a look at that northern bridge area on the east side of the map, there is already a 3rd team. I believe it's Rexspect that is camping the gas station of the bridge, which kind of forces LENDER to camp the compounds you just saw, and it's just like a domino effect right there, Imperium.
I'm pretty impressed because this is realistically the first time we're seeing the map since the very start of the game. I gotta say, I'm pretty pleased with the amount of teams that went for early rotations into the military island. Because, to be fair, it's not a massive guarantee that we're going to have a military island finish, but I appreciate that teams are committing to it. They want to go early. They want to coexist with the teams around them. Of course, it does mean that we are seeing a few more teams than usual in the island, but again, I can give a lot of props to these teams on how quick they're reacting to phase 1.
Quite a lot of teams did make it to military island. I expect to see some more bridge camping go through, but it seems like the teams are just instead going to prioritize the rotation. I know on the PMGC side, it's pretty similar. A lot of teams realize bridge camping is not really worth it, and to just find a position in the zone. Redmond right there picking up a very nice kill onto the unsuspecting team across the way. A clean knock and a quick thirst to boot.
And I do like that it's kind of like pick up a kill, reposition. Pick up a kill, kind of reposition. I think that's important to point out as well. Versace moving away, picks up a vehicle. YMCA were just a little bit more up north. If they had continued on that road, it probably wouldn't have gone well for Red Moon, but it is what it is. We'll continue on. On the bridge side, on the eastern bridge, Rexspect are also there to possibly pick up a kill or 2 onto both 7-Up and Lemniscape. So again, waiting to see where this phase 2 pops up. The best scenario I feel is that if it stays in military island but shifts over to either the west or the eastern side of it, because that would open that bridge up for a little bit of a cleaner rotation for the teams who are still in the mainland.
Well, we're about to see this next circle shift. I'll be damned if it does go up north, and it does not. It looks like we will have a military island finish, but the problem is it shifted to the east, meaning that bridge area where so many teams are camping, they're still in zone, and that kind of makes them feel more comfortable to continue camping. Well, Rexpect actually realizes we need to get across the bridge at somehow, so they're gonna go ahead and start scouting. I really like that idea right there.
Yeah, just abandon it, Rexpect. You did it for the first phase, move down south, commit to that one side, and stick to it. Eastern Stars are going for a bit of a swim down by the Milta Power area. You did see Big in the minimap continuing to head down more towards that kind of eastern bridge. Glore, they probably have a little bit of an opportunity to low-key bridge camp because the circle shifted over to the east. It technically leaves the western bridge a little bit less congested potentially, and if Mega Powers go for that rotation on the west, they could get caught up by Glore.
Yeah, it's very tricky right here when we have some teams committing to the bridge camp, and more or less, I don't even think they want to commit to the bridge camp. It's just they're kind of stuck on each other. I'm curious to see if Lemon knows that Rexpect left and rotated or not. It seems like they're so focused on watching 7-Up that they might have not even noticed that they have a free access across the bridge, and if they didn't notice, 7-Up might just take advantage of it and rotate themselves and then get ahead of Lemniscape for that rotation.
But that's what frustrates me, right? Because you have an idea around potentially, you know, catching a team out. You don't catch that team out. You got to understand when is the time to stop what you're doing and think about the next couple of minutes, and when it's right to stay where you are. In my opinion, Lemniscape have massively overstayed their position, and they should have moved in as soon as that circle shifted on phase 2. And they might end up feeling the brunt of the teams down on the south side, possibly Big, just because they haven't moved and they stayed where they are.
Yeah, Big might be thinking, look, we're rotating extremely late. Teams probably have stopped bridge camping right now, but we still have the same two teams right there. Just had a dead still standoff. Neither team really accomplishing anything, if I'm going to be brutally honest. Eastern Stars, on the other end, they did lose a player. We didn't quite see what happened there. Did YMCA get that kill or not? I don't think YMCA is aware that Eastern Stars is here.
I don't think it was at the hands of YMCA. It's a good question. Either way, let's see what they can do. Bazzi, Doran, Kapahala, the Warlord himself. The IGL. I was tuning into one of his streams, giving him and his community a little bit of a hello last night after the games, and it's always a good laugh. His attitude is, his mindset is just so positive in PUBG Mobile, and it's something that I think a lot of players could definitely learn from, especially in the Romanian community. But for now, YMCA is their challenge. They're biding their time. They're being patient. I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, Eastern Stars with 3 players and only 1 buggy. I think they want to kind of take this fight to secure not just the kills, but the enemy's cars, because they're on the military island with not much maneuverability, right? And we see YMCA kind of looking their way. I feel like YMCA is aware, but they're having trouble figuring out how to exactly approach this fight. Or they might just be rotating around. Okay, so yeah, they're just holding us. They keep looking to the shore side, which makes
I don't think they know, but you put 2 and 2 together and you kind of make 5. You should expect a team to be coming up on that shoreline. I really like how YMCA have themselves spread out. Oh, could it be at the detriment of a late game focus? I don't know.
Look at Big real quick, Imperia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, see, they just circumvented both 7-Up and Lemniscape, because they were neither team was watching the rotation when Rexpect left, and now Big just kind of takes over it for free. And I think this is a big blunder for both 7-Up and Lemniscape.
Yes and no, but I don't like where Big are. I hate that position on the bridge because Rexpect were there, and I suggested Rexpect should move, and they did. Now, as it happens, one of the Rexpect players has been knocked, but I really don't like where Big have themselves positioned. Obviously, we'll see where phase 3 goes. It's how proactive they're going to be. If they're proactive and they're able to pick up a kill or 2, it might work out.
Here's the question though: would you rather be Big or 7-Up or Lemniscate between those three teams? Like that's my point, Imperium. Lemniscate or 7-Up can be in Big's positions, which is much better. But neither team was paying any attention, and now okay with that circle shift. I mean, Big is still in zone. This is definitely one of the more awkward circles with half of it in the water still, and the other majority of the half is Novo. Like you just got a bunch of crates there.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is crazy. Radio tower that's been held down by Chazmac for the last like 10-12 minutes is going to be pretty good for them to possibly pick up a killer dude, because they have a lot of oversight on that kind of south western hill. That is quite a good hill, but when it's really being covered by radio tower, it takes it away. But Eastern Stars have found the opening knock onto one of the YMCA players, looking for another one onto Larix. However, Larix will be able to move away.
Doran right there does manage to get that knock and steal a buggy. So Eastern Stars playing so patient. They finally secure the kill and another car, so they're able to rotate to the next zone. But that next zone is definitely quite an awkward shift. I don't think any of the teams are really prepared for that in terms of, you know, repeated practice in a zone shift like that. So it'll be interesting to see how Eastern Stars decide to play this along with so many other teams. In Respect, they had a massive split in the center of zone. I want to see which, you know, building or which compound they prioritize.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. For Eastern Stars, it is tricky, but they're not too far away from the edge of the circle, so they can wait it out a little bit. They can kind of challenge Red Moon, who are the closest to them. Glor, what are you doing? Like, why is he there on his own?
Like, honestly, in a zone like this, it's so tricky because you're not familiar with the pathing. And you see Glor definitely not familiar with the pathing of this area of the map, of how to, you know, navigate and go past. Seems like we don't see teams rotating around here much, right, Imperium? So it's
true, but that's why you should rotate it as a team, because at least overall, in my opinion, not only allows you to react stronger as a team, but it also means that you're less likely to actually get knocked out of a vehicle, because when you're all four driving together, there's less of a focus on one individual vehicle, whereas we've seen 3 individual Glor players being taken out just because they're on their own, right? Yeah. So as much as I get what you're saying, and maybe I'm being too harsh, that's basic. To me, that's common sense. That's really common sense. You don't rotate 18.5 minutes into the game individually like that. Whether or not you know the path lines, you just don't do it.
That's true. That's a very solid point. Rotate together and you might lose 1, maybe 2 at most, but the other 2 players can go through. And we saw Glor actually get knocked to 3 different teams. They took 3 different routings, 3 different options, and all 3 options were met with a completely entirely different team. So my heart does kind of go out for Glor. They must be so confused. Like, just like, we tried option A, there's a team there. We try option B, there's a team there. We try option C, there's another team there. So, I mean, Glor definitely not having a good time in this zone. But Big, losing 1 player, they did decide to rotate over. And we see a fight between Mega Power fighting on the edge of that southern military island side, and Mazzaro using that bridge very nicely to his advantage.
Yeah, as much as I wasn't a fan of where Big were positioned on that northern side of the circle around that bridge, the fact that they prioritized down on the military island based on the previous circle shifting is nice, and they're clearly working it in their favor. Lemniscate, though, they need to move in, as do 7-Up. 7-Up has started to make a move. Shesh looking out from the roof side, along with the rest of his teammates, as Hader stays on this side of the road. Not really in a position to take the shots onto the players. As 7-Up, you have to move up onto the roadside. There you go. Bish, bash, bosh. Will 7-Up keep on going? Yes, they will. Let's see how far they get to the bridge. Who will be waiting for them across the way? Well, it's only Big.
Yeah, Big will be waiting for them, but now 7-Up is also cutting ahead of Lemniscate. Lemniscate, I don't think this is going to end well for them, as they have multiple teams across the bridge already, and that's all due to the fact that they were not proactive. They could have left so much earlier when Respect left like 3 circles ago, but Mazzaro Wow, look at those shots right there. That's at least like 200 meters and a knock and a thirst as well.
Absolutely fantastic. Big brain position by Mazzaro, the Albanian. My playing for big, picks up another knock on the La Familia. They don't even know where those shots are coming from. They're like, who is shooting at us? Where is it coming from?
Probably not. And Mazzaro's really feeling it. And he's actually calling out to the rest of his team.
Yes.
Where he got that knock to secure the push and secure the kill. And look at the covering fire right there.
Oh my god.
Big, such a good team when it comes to aggression and teamwork right there. And that's another knock. That's another secured kill. And they have a nice control of the zone.
This is insane. Absolutely insane. One by one, Mazzaro's just picked off the players from La Familia, leaves Clay all on his lonesome on the western side of the circle. Mega Power done a good job of pushing back the likes of Uncold as they try and play into the edge of circle. Lemnis Skate don't know what they're doing. Let's be straight up honest. Their play has been very reactive rather than proactive, and they paid the price for it. Simple as that. Like, even 7-Up were the first to move out of those two teams, right? And then Lemnis Skate suddenly just start to move again. Just reactive.
Yeah, it's just stuck in the blue with one player now trying to swim across. Like, this is why I was criticizing so much. Every opportunity that they had to put themselves in a better position, they were not paying attention. And now they're really taking the brunt of the damage, and they're going to go out to the blue zone. 7-Up also just stuck in the blue, but maybe they have a better chance. At least they have 4 players up, and the circle shifted down south up to that radio tower. Chasmok Gaming, the very first team that we saw rotate across the bridge, being heavily rewarded right now, maintaining that radio tower, and it is still in the zone towards the lake.
We expect to have a good position up as a full squad. Eastern Stars have been able to avoid the likes of Red Moon, but it's not going to stop Red Moon keeping Eastern Stars within their sights. This is phase 5, 23 minutes in, so the landmass becomes tighter. Teams get closer together. Third parties become more inevitable. Of course, players are going to go down. Chasmok only started as a 3-person team as well, so it's even more impressive what they're able to do. As Mega Power Fellow chucks up a pre-net across the side, goes for the 1v2, sticks to the right side of the bridge anchor, just like we talked about, switches over to the left, and is going to have to play through, goes for the pre-fire. It doesn't work out as the 2-man big players win and come out on top.
Chasmok on top of the radio tower hill, just taking shots at everybody. You would think it's easier to secure kills up here, but it's not that easy. When teams are hundreds of meters away, it can be quite difficult to secure the knock and the thirst. But Red Moon, definitely not aware of how exposed they are down there. Chasmok's going to pick up some nice kills here, probably, and finish it off with potentially a grenade. And you see it right there, throwing that grenade down. That line, such an easy throw. I don't expect anything but there we go.
So
Touchdown.
good. So good from Pocus. And you're dead right. I think, of course, it's benefited them with the fact that the radio tower is on the edge of the circle, so teams are going to be going around it rather than trying to go through it or up to it, if that makes sense. But it's important that Chasmok are proactive, because coming into phase 6, if the circle shifts up north, they have to go down that hill into the open area where the teams on the northern side could pick them apart. So Chasmok doing what they're doing now could be a big part of why they might even win the game, never mind get a high amount of points. But now down they go, 7-Up make it across the way. Rexpect are waiting in the wings.
And the next circle did shift, and it went to the radio tower hill once again. So Chasmok set up in a very nice position. Rexpect, meanwhile, they have 4 alive, and they could easily breach into that northern section of the map and keep their heads tucked down so that Chasmok can't even shoot them, because I do see a huge ridge line next in the zone where teams could take cover from the likes of Chasmok on top of Radio Hill.
For Romanian men, the second Romanian team playing in today's games, they've been a little bit quiet. I think picked up an elimination here or there as Rana dances with the devil that is Pocus, spraying with the 4x, changes over to them 249. Azar is trying to carve his way a little bit more down the hill to cover the eastern edge of the circle while Trey's in his anchor point. This is some great teamwork from Chasmok.
Yeah, Chazbak, I like how they're using their, not just their position, but their teammates, using the splits to put pressure in multiple directions while securing a part of the zone. 4 Romanian men also kind of sneak their way into that zone near the top of the mountain, but not entirely at the top. And here's Rex just absolutely dominating right now with the 4-man squad. 5 eliminations already.
I was about to say 4, then you recognize, and it was 5, so it's very good coming out from Respect, as Greek Army are going to meet their match at the hands of both the Blue Zone and 4 Romanian men, who got themselves in a very good South Circle position in Phase 6 as we're getting into Phase 7. Respect move across the road into the edge of the hillside where they might be able to put pressure on the Chazbak. A double knock in the hands of 4 Romanian men. Leaves Sarah all on his lonesome. Brick wall of the French side is going to help take down and explode the members of 4 Romanian men as Axer pushes his way forward, and down he goes. Azer picks up the kill for Chazmak.
Oh, France is absolutely dominating this match right now, the former Chazmak Gaming. That fight with 4 Romanian men was executed so cleanly, not losing a single player or even have a player knocked. That saves them time to breach into the next zone, because finally the zone has shifted away from Chazmak, and they're going to have a little bit of a challenge fighting their way in. There's a solo player out of Clay who's been hiding in that dip. I don't know if Chazmak is aware of it or not, but instead Chazmak's going to just take shots at everyone else while Rex is just trying to find their way into the zone.
Lovely play. One of Respect players gets knocked. Last Bravas, Spanish representative, doing what he can to stay alive. But with 4 teams left up, make that 3 Bravas, Respect and Chazmak. I said at the start of this broadcast that Chazmak needed to step up to the plate with the amount of points that their French community representatives Game Lord had picked up in the first 2 days, and they're not disappointing. They are stepping up to the plate, but they haven't won the game just yet. The Spanish side of Respect and the Spanish side of Bravas could shut them down. This Spanish sandwich, man.
Chazmak, by the way, on that rotation at the very end, they pushed multiple teams on the way down, and they absolutely dominated the control of that. And now they're about to do the same and finish out the last team standing in their way, the chicken dinner. Respect. Chazmak, beautifully played. The grenades are coming in. They already got the knock. They're keeping up the pressure. This should be a easy said and done chicken dinner unless someone from Respect steps up huge right now.
Nice use of the utility to slow down and suppress the members of Respect, but it's still 1 player that's left up. Smoke gets thrown out by Pocus as one of the Chazmak players was knocked down. GOAT, can he live up to the IGN? Can he be the GOAT for Respect in this game 1 and get a cheeky chicken dinner his way? He's knocking 2, steps up, moves in, gets a knock on the Pocus. Wonderfully done. He's taking control of this game. He's gonna play it through, and I think that's a chicken dinner for Respect. Yes, it is.
Respect, the GOAT. He was the one that really secured that team fight for the team. That first initial knock slowed down the Chazmak push, their aggression, and that bided them enough time to get the revive. And he got a second knock right afterwards, just keeping them pressured, keeping Chazmak stuck in the back, and his teammates managed to line up a nice grenade and just kaboom, just like that. Chazmak loses that chicken dinner, and instead it's Respect who will be taking the chicken dinner for the first match of today.
And it was a great game 1 for the whole of the Spanish community, because Bravas got 3rd, and another thing that I kind of pointed out before the start of this game of with the lack of game lord in this lobby, it could be a bit of an opportunity for the likes of Bravas to turn their community tournament around, and it's a great start for them. It might not have been flashy. 3rd place with, I think, 3 eliminations. That's a cool 13 points for the Spanish side.
Yeah, I think the Spanish side did extremely well. I think a lot of the teams played that zone really well. Like, we saw teams that we don't usually, see too often, excel in that match. The big names like Eastern Stars, I'm not even sure what happened to Eastern Stars throughout that match. They kind of fizzled out. But Chazmak and Respect, pretty notable names, but not like the big names that stand out. And they're coming in today on day 3 with a really strong start. So I kind of hinted at it earlier, like maybe the teams that have, struggled a little bit to put their names on, on the table, unlike yesterday, maybe today is the day they finally figure things out and start playing better. And well, that is exactly what we're starting to see.
And it's just continue to and not to take away from Chasmank, but just continue on with the Spanish community side. They were coming into today's games down in 9th place, but the asterisk being they've played the lowest amount of games out of all of the communities of only 4 games, because they've had one, basically I say 4 games because it's one team has played each day, right? They haven't had both of their teams represented in any of the days except for today. So there's a big opportunity for them to overtake the likes of UK, overtake the likes of Czech Republic, maybe challenge France and Germany themselves. I know that's going to be tough, especially how Chasmank perform, but just to highlight the 2 Spanish teams, very good start for them in day 3 with 2 teams participating.
Yeah, I also wonder as the days go on. You mentioned it yesterday. Like, are these teams going to start helping each other out in the form of not so much directly teaming up, but simply just like, hey, I noticed in yesterday's game during your guys' rotation or whatever, I feel like you guys could have done this instead, or just point small things out. Like, we as the casters, we're pointing out a lot of things, a lot of mistakes these different teams are making. But I wonder if a camaraderie is starting being built between these community teams, where they also are trying to help each other out. Because at the end of the day, the community, it's a community prize. So whoever gets first place is not, going to get first place all on their own. They're going to need their teammates, their other brethren, to do well in their games as well, in order for them to secure that prize.
Yeah, exactly. One team that I think really failed to capitalize on position and got caught out because of it was La Familia, right? They did move into Military Island fairly early, but they didn't watch their backs, right? You got to think maybe, and it's not the fact that they needed to bridge camp per se, but they gave way too much room and way too much freedom for the likes of Big to move into the into the Military Island from that eastern bridge, right? And yeah, okay, the way a couple of their players got taken out is kind of unusual, but at the end of the day, if you give a team like Big an inch, they're going to take a mile, and that probably shouldn't have been the case for La Familia. They should have covered that a little bit more heavily.
Yeah, La Familia, it's that position, Mazzara, right? Like, it's not like a super rare position. We've seen it being played all the time, but sometimes in the heat of things, teams might forget, look at the very top of the bridge. And, well, you guys could definitely take a look at the highlights that are about to come up here from that match number 1. It's just absolutely beautiful stuff throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah, for sure. The highlights will kind of speak for themselves. Let's go to a bit of a break, show the highlights, and when we come back, we'll have the match rankings, and we'll get ready to go into game number 2. Welcome back. We are here after game one. I don't know why I just lost my thought. I'm Imperium with Zute. We had a great game one. It was won by Chazmak. But looking at the match rankings, more important, Respect, with the amount of eliminations they got, ended up getting more points.
Yeah, Respect right there, 14 elims, Chazmak with 10. These two teams had both sides of the map dominated. Chazmak from the high ground on that radio tower hill, and Respect, you know, they did not have it. They did not have an easy job cut out for them working in from the low ground. But as a four-man team, they just kind of carved their way through to the end game, and they actually took it over Chazmak, which was kind of surprising. We both thought Chazmak was going to win that one, but they were pressuring down Respect from the high ground.
And for the Spanish community as a whole, that was a 42-point game. When you look at how many points they had in total, 47 so far, that's they've nearly like gotten the total amount of points they had overall in the first 2 days in one game alone today. So it's looking good for the Spanish community in day 3 of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. Of course, 4 Romanian men did have a pretty good result, 12 points, far outweighing what Eastern Stars pulled out, so that's pretty healthy indeed for themselves. And La Familia, yeah, okay, they got 10 points, but again, you got to think they could have picked up so many more eliminations. They had to cover their backs against the likes of Big earlier on.
Yeah, and I think between Respect and Team Ravis, this is the most amount of points a community has earned in a single match. We've seen we've seen teams get more than 29 points in a single match, but as a community per match, a first place and a third place, I don't think that's been done before. We've seen teams get first place with a huge game, and their community counterpart finishes like in 12th or 13th or something. So I think it's a very big game, not just for Respect, not just for Bravis, but definitely for their community.
I'd definitely be interested in kind of trying to confirm that, but I can't but agree with what you said. I'd say 4 Romanian men, Eastern Stars, or Romanian community might have gotten close to it, but I can't but feel that indeed that is the highest community scoring in an individual game. So well done, Spanish community. I know the organizers in the back end will be pretty happy with that. Shout out to all of those. But 7UP, 7 points. One thing they've noticed with 7UP is that they've been quite volatile with their results. They can have kind of that, you know, amazing 25-point game or even an 18-point game, but then they follow that up with a 2-pointer or it's sandwiched by a 2-point game and a 1-point game. 7UP needs to find their consistency in this game, in these games for the Slovakian Czech Republic community.
I totally agree. And the last team I want to touch on is Eastern Stars, right? We've seen them get nothing but, you know, a top 3 overall finish in the match rankings. And this time around, they finished in 13th with only 2 points. But I would have to attribute that to such a weird, unfamiliar circle. Not a lot of teams, even at the PMGC level, kind of, you know, have had to deal with shifts in that manner. And that might be why we see some of the more unknown teams coming into, you know, the mix and doing really well for them. So is it more of luck that they, you know, got those top place finishes?
Yeah.
Because, you know, they got circle blessed in weird shifts?
That's a good question, and I think we'll obviously find that out a little bit more throughout today's games. Obviously, you have the variable of different maps, but I still think that pattern hopefully will show up to give us a bit of a bigger indication per se. And we're going to be moving on to Miramar for game number. From what you've seen in the first 2 Miramar games, what are you expecting in this Miramar map?
As far as Miramar goes, we've only seen it twice so far, right? And so what I have noticed is that these teams are struggling to kind of do their rotations on Miramar. Now, of course, that's a given, since Miramar is one of the more difficult maps to rotate. But given the overall skill level of the lobby, we've seen more fights, happen earlier on than usual than what we're accustomed to seeing, like at the PMPL level, so to say.
That's fair. I can't help but agree. It's definitely possible in terms of what we're going to, what we seen like in the first game when I complimented more teams going down to Military Island. It's possible that teams are able to rotate. It's just they're not really pulling it off in Miramar. But the playing path, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, playing path, super crucial on a map like Miramar. This gives a nice even split right down the map for all the teams to drop to wherever it is they might want to rotate or, loot at. But the question is that very first circle. Yesterday, we saw a circle hard down in the southwest, and we saw teams end up taking fights far, far northeast because both of these teams are using that road to navigate Miramar, and you easily start running into opposition and other teams that aren't even trying to camp, each other out. They're just both using the road to navigate Miramar, and just no one's super friendly and want to share the road. And if they can take shots, they'll take shots, and it leads to fights in the blue zone, super deep away from the circle.
For sure. Once again, we do see teams fighting in Picado, Showdown, and Mega Power. We're seeing a bit of a pattern, right? It happened in Erangel, in Pachinki. It's happening now in Miramar, in Picado. First game, it was won by Mega Power. Can Showdown get their revenge?
Showdown right now in a much scrappier hot drop fight. AU with the M249. That's a really good one right there, especially in 1v2 situation. You want the extra bullets. And I think he's going to go aggressive here. He knows he has the advantage with the tags right there. I love the play aggression right there. Mega Power kind of split up. They need to come in and start helping out their teammates.
Yeah, I don't know why the players from Mega Powers are so heavily dispersed to allowing Showdown to just use their body advantage and come out on top. So far, so good. Premix is in a little bit of a spot of bother. Logic's still looting up. What are you doing? Your teammates have been taken out. You should be looking to get the hell out of there as a duo. You're on either side of the map. That's not a good place to be.
Yeah, I think they're just looting what they can before they start running away. Maybe they're underestimating how fast Showdown might, put on that aggression. Reet here. No helmet. He does have some weapons to his name. He's looking for like somewhat of a cross, but I think Showdown should be well aware of all of these players' positions because they saw where they dropped in as they were parachuting down. You see Showdown here, 4v1. Definitely Logis has the advantage, but Showdown has the manpower advantage, and there, two of their players did manage to cross over safely. I love that use of a 4-man push that way.
Yeah, for sure. I do appreciate what Logis was doing, though, in terms of peeking up, shooting, but not overextending. I think he knew he was close to a knock, but he knew that if he had left it just a millisecond too late,
yes,
he would have gotten knocked himself. He is going to be challenged. Ride has moved around. He's going to be facing two of the Showdown players himself, so it's 2 for 1 either side. Pre-fire shots on the right-hand side of the wall with he gets one, switches over, goes to the jump shot, not quite there. It's going to be won by Showdown.
Oh, so close, Reet, with almost the 1v2 coming into play. And I love how quickly Logis readjusted his position. Showdown still think Logis is somewhere in the Coliseum, but Logis has already readjusted.
Oh, no!
If he got that knock, that would have been insurmountable for getting the reset, and the shots just barely missed. Logis gives up his position, and now he's in a firm 1v4 situation. Reet will not be able to get revived here.
I don't know why, but I absolutely love this fight, and I gotta give props to both teams. Mega Power, their biggest mistake was dropping so disconnected. Right, if you have a big feeling you're going to be challenged, you can easily see, based on the parachutes that are dropping down with you, they should have dropped a little bit more heavily together. But they certainly done a hell of a job to try and get back into it between Rite and Logis. Logis now 150% left in his own. I think if he can, he should look to disengage and Showdown. They get their revenge, man. They get their revenge.
Yeah, I love it. The Showdown lost the first fight. They don't lose confidence. I'm pretty sure they're aware that Mega Power is going to be here again, and they stick it to them. And this time, they're up 3 eliminations with no players lost, and they're hunting down Logis. Now, Logis, we've seen how clean his shots are, how fast his reactions are. That's not to say Showdown is out of this just yet. Showdown might lose 1 or 2 players, and Logis might actually, confirm the eliminations if they don't respect Logis' skill.
The one thing, of course, Showdown need to think about overall is that phase 1 is gonna start to close in the next 20 seconds. They don't have the highest amount of meds. They will want to think about who could potentially going around them. So yeah, I get that Showdown want to clear this fight out, which is what they're doing inside the big building. But oh my god, he's going for the pan. That is disrespect. He got the pan kill. Malik got the pan kill. Oh, I bow down to you, Malik. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, I love how he ran in first with the pan as well. And if anything, by the looks of it, it really threw Logis off. He wasn't able to track that, target correctly, because with the pan in hand, he's moving a little bit faster than running and shooting with the gun. And Logis, that just made him miss so many shots. And the other 2 players ran in. And I was saying, they need to be careful and respect Logis, because Logis could potentially take down 2 of them. They do the complete opposite and run in with a pan and just completely disrespect Logis and just humiliate him right there in that push.
Brilliant. It's in-game psychology at its finest. So well done to Showdown, but we can now have a little bit of a closer look of where these teams are. There's 2 teams in El Pozo. That's Chasmac and I think Team Galore, but we haven't seen any real interaction. Once again, Chasmac only playing this game as a 3-man team. Uncanny up on the northern side, they have a little bit of a good position. Is there anything that kind of stands out to you in terms of how these teams are setting themselves up in this phase 1?
Well, as far as phase 1 goes, this is a very, very friendly Miramar circle. You can see just with the way the teams are set up, everybody for once is in like more of a central position, more or less. They're playing in comfortable, high ground positions. Unlike yesterday's games where, we got teams just way out in the blue, just fighting each other, trying to get into the zone. So this Miramar game is going to be one of the easiest ones we see yet. And, rotations wise, no problems there. And the kill feed, Big blew up a car, I believe, and got 2 eliminations onto this team right here. This is the Greek army representing Greece. Definitely having a very rough start. And if it's Big that got, if it's Big that got the knocks on you, you can expect Big to finish the fight some way, somehow.
Honestly, I don't really want to talk about it because I love the Greek community, and that was just a massive yikes for me. You couldn't ask for easier kills for Big. We move on as Bravas, who got a great 3rd place finish in game 1 of the day. When you look back at their first 4 games yesterday of this tournament, they got a total of 7 points. And they instantly start today with, I think it was 13 points they got in game 1. But Big karma works out against him for Romanian men.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity.
Getting a taste of their own medicine, so to say, playing super aggressive, wiping out a team, and now another team is on their backs looking to do the same. Now, for Romanian men, I would venture to say this is also a very aggressive team, but are they as aggressive as Big? I want to see them push Big in and try and finish, take out the bullies of the games, pretty much, because Big is definitely the bullies of all of the lobbies. Any fight they see, they take and they try and finish it.
And please don't go for the revive, Beast. Please do not go for the revive. What I like about 4 Romanian men is that they kept one in the back line, providing not only information but cover fire, while Sarah and Rana have pushed forward across the side of the hill. Dexter does need to join up, which is the case for now, but I do appreciate the proactiveness coming out from the members of 4 Romanian men.
Yeah, 4 Romanian men. They secure that one, but definitely not looking like Big. If it was Big, 4 Romanian men would have pushed into Big's face by now, but they're playing it slower. It's still working. They got the knock onto Goldie, which was the off-angle support player. So with that player knocked, here comes that hard push that 4 Romanian men were looking for the whole time. And with that support angle gone, Big realizes they're in a really tough position and they're going to eject right out of there. I really love, even though how Big is on the back foot, they really understand the gravity of the fight. The second their support is gone, they know they've lost and they'll just make the best of what they can by playing placement.
Phase 2's popped up, it shifted over quite heavily to the west, to the point where pretty much nobody's in the center of the circle, which is that Picado Hill. So everybody's going to be clustered on the edge of this phase 2, trying to find their feet, find their place. YMCA coming in from that southwestern side. Bravas, you can see on your screens, trying to pick apart a couple of shots onto their Spanish teammates of Rexpect, but they'll try and take it if they can. Rexpect in their own little kind of heated rotational battle with the likes of Lemnis, Skate, and I think that's a couple of the members of Uncanny.
Oh, take a look at the small screen on your right there. Oh, we just left it. Okay, we're back. Big actually is trying to maybe revive Goldie because Goldie was just left out to bleed for so long. Yeah, there's no way, but I really respect the fact that they, ventured back to just see maybe the 4 Romanian men forgot about that knock onto, Goldie, and maybe, 4 Romanian men rotated into the zone and they could have maybe gotten that revive. So I can't hate on Big for making an effort, right? One thing that I always say at the competitive level is I love seeing teams try and venture and see if something's possible. And if not, then that's fine. You just turn it around and reset. But if you don't take the opportunity to test something out, to see if something could work, you'll never know if it'll work or not.
Travis continued to put a little bit of pressure onto the members of Rexpect. An initial knock secured, and that's going to be confirmed by Louis. Hey, look, good start. They take down the GOAT of game 1 that won the game for Rexpect. YMCA now starting to move in. They sniff a little bit of a fight on the Glore, and that's what they are due. Up and towards this power grid hill. It's an important part to control, so if YMCA can clean out this fight early on, I think it'll spell very heavily for them in the later stages of the game.
This is definitely one of the more difficult pushes too, and sometimes we just see two teams just coexist here, but they are taking the shots. They're looking for another opening. YMCA right now with 0 eliminations, so I only see 3 members out of that team, but I do think there's a 4th somewhere lying around in the wings. YMCA trying to find some more angles. They took some shots, and I think they realized, like, hey, I don't think we can breach this. Let's readjust and find another position in the circle. So I love that play right there. YMCA being very proactive.
It's the kind of thing of not being narrow-minded, not getting tunnel visioned, and it's good because it's still only phase kind of 2, right? And if you stay there for too long, teams can be rotating around / into you, and they could end up getting called out. So good stuff from YMCA, and as it happens, there is a team that is looking to get close to them. That's Showdown Gaming, moving up from Picado.
Yeah, Showdown Gaming. Very curious that they're there. I'm wondering if they
You don't like it?
No. Like, where are their cars? Where are the vehicles at? Why are there just 2 players down there of all places? Like, you would expect Showdown to just be taking the compounds itself. But with that being said, it looks like they're setting up a trap on the compound, waiting for a team to come here just so they can maybe pick up a few limbs and take this position for themselves. Yeah, YMCA has no clue that Showdown is here.
7-Up you can see in the distance as well. Be trying to lock down a little bit of the power grid hill. It's a big, big, big land area of the map, so it's never about controlling the whole thing. It's about just picking a piece, that metaphorical line, and controlling that line. And I like YMCA because this position allows them and affords them to go on to the higher elevated rocky mountainside of the Picado Hill and get some angles and some information on teams in the further distance, as well as holding down the small corner they have.
I want to see Showdown do a 200 IQ move. I want to see one of the Showdown players that's further away just start taking shots at something. Get the Curious of YMCA curious, and they'll overstep just enough to peek their heads out to see, what's going on, because they have no idea that Showdown is that close. Maybe they do now, because I see the HP of one player a little bit lower. And now YMCA is aware, though. Now they won't peek their heads out and be too haphazard about it. So, I mean, Imperium, you can imagine it yourself. Showdown player from further south just start shooting away. YMCA is like, oh, maybe this is third-party attempt. They peek their heads out a little bit too far, and boom, Showdown player right in their face, get a free knock. But enough of that. We have a hard shift all the way up to the north, up to the zone area of San Martin and Hacienda Patron.
The carpet's being pulled underneath the legs of all of these teams that moved on to Power Grid Hillside. Now, I feel for them, right? Because I wouldn't have expected such a northern shift this early on in the game, but it's going to benefit Lemniscate, who probably have the best compound in this circle. It's on that hillside overlooking San Martin. It's a good spread. It's hard to breach. This is very possibly going to be a Greek win.
Ooh, you're calling it that early?
I kind of am. Yeah, I kind of am. Just because, outside of a massive hard shift again in Phase 4, if Lemniscate play it right, they've won this game.
Okay. I get what you're saying. If this was like maybe the PMGC level, and we have a PMGC team in Lemniscate's position, I would feel more comfortable with saying like, yes, they could absolutely close this game.
Really?
But
I would be less comfortable saying that, to be honest.
I mean, we saw Lemniscate in the previous match. They did not utilize their position whatsoever. And that's being a bit harsh, but that is the true reality of it. Meanwhile, the true reality for these teams is, well, they're just trying to find some place in the zone that has hard cover, and everyone's coming into the city of San Martin and trying to take a position up in the city.
We're still only Phase 3. You don't need to go into San Martin, right?
I agree.
Like, it's so silly, and that's why I have a little bit more security about calling Lemniscate, because it's not the fact that they're not a PMGC level team able to control the area. It's the fact that all the other teams around them are less PMGC level, so they're making these kind of mistakes of committing into the city. That's where I'm looking at. That's where my evaluation comes from.
Okay. I think now that you put it that way, I see your counterpoint. And all right, Imperium, I'll have to give this one over to you. I think your analysis is actually quite right. Lemniscate, they might not be a PMGC level team, but so are the rest of the lobby. And position at the end of the day becomes more effective when less teams know how to, deal with, teams in advantageous positions. And you see here on the map, we have 4 teams in the city of San Martin. We're expect to the north with a nice little, northern area. And also, we got a few teams still rotating in from the south and the southwest.
Wow, look at the rotation for Showdown. They are just hugging the edge of the blue, biding their time playing it in. Now, a couple of their players have now gone deep to get closer to the edge of the circle, but I kind of appreciate that variability. I think they've also even gone into the blue to do a little bit more looting. Again, their fight against Mega Power took a little bit too long. They would have been a little bit more underlooted, which is why they're taking their time.
Well, they did manage to pick up 4 ELEM points, so sacrificing some loot, sacrifice some zone priority for those guaranteed ELEM points. That's always something that's, not too bad of a trade, but with that circle shift far away from Showdown Gaming, they got a huge rotation to make, and that's a hard shift, Imperium. So Lemniscate, like, yeah, they're in a good spot. They have a high ground to make the, the informational play on where to rotate, where
Yeah.
to secure, where to control. So the ball's still in their court, but Respect and Bravos and Eastern Stars, those three teams are definitely sitting in the most comfortable positions. And well, we called out the teams that, why go into San Martin this early on? Well, this is exactly why you don't want to commit to the city.
I also think I pulled a Zute and Caster Curse Lemniscate, because I said the only way that Lemniscate kind of don't put themselves in a game-winning position or aren't in a game-winning position is if it hard shifted, and that's what Phase 4 did. Showdown Gaming now making their way up the hill, looking to take the fight. It gets big, down to 2 players. They lost Goldie and Mihi early on into the arms of 4 Romanian men, but Issa Mazawa couldn't ask for 2 better players to defend and fight and come out on top. They've opened it up, at least picking up one of the kills, or at least a knock on the Showdown Gaming, slowing them down, and then they can move away. They have a little bit of a push to make it into the western edge of the circle, going down the Crater Field, into the side of the road, and up that kind of San Martin hill around the likes of Respect and Lemniscate. Well, La Familia, one of the teams that made their way into San Martin, they have to move out of it.
Big is definitely one of the teams where even if they're down to 2-man, if the team they're shooting at is not aware it's Big, it could feel like a 4-man team. Like, Big is so loud and aggressive, even down to 2 players. So I love that control right there, just completely stopping Showdown on that rotation. And now look at Big's rotation up on the north. They get wrapped around on the hard shift side. Very smart strategy. Showdown, I'm pretty sure, was trying to do the same. It's a hard shift to the northeast. So they're going to wrap around on the west side and try and get to the northern side where there's less teams. But Big just absolutely stopped them. So Big doing a really good job at not just rotating, but also pressuring teams away from taking a similar path.
This could be a really good chicken dinner for Respect. 2 in a row. They didn't lose a player, so I believe it's just 3 of them up. They have a 2-1 spread. Nacho, I think, should join up with the rest of his team, because I think it's getting to the point in the game where you need to just control one portion of the circle to your own as YMCA make their way up. Red Moon looking into the sightlines of the likes of, I think it's, I'm not exactly sure who it was, but they now have to focus on the 7-Up.
7-Up and Red Moon get a hard shift to the east. Both teams are pretty much in the circle. That might stop them from, fully committing to a fight. YMCA, we saw earlier, trying to go up to the Respect position, and they got absolutely shut down. So Respect doing a really good job. 7-Up, will they commit to this fight? They have the advantage, but whenever a team gets the zone, that makes them play a little bit more passive, because they realize, hey, we don't have to go anywhere. We could chill for a little bit, but I want to see 7-Up take this fight. That is 4 elimination points right there for their taking. Like, just look at the position, right? Throw some more mollies, throw some more grenades, and then you get that opening knock, and then you just pressure on in. And you could not only get elim points, but you take a team out from your side, which will hinder you on the next zone shift if you leave them be.
Skate, waiting. Showdown Gaming in the kill feed being taken down by YMCA. I think that is the whole of Showdown indeed being picked apart. Nice play as YMCA grab a couple of eliminations. Uncanny being a bit quiet. Doctor using a wall to his advantage, tries to throw a couple of shots in the direction of Red Moon down at the bottom of the hill. They're so close to the edge of the circle, but they also don't want to move away from what is a pretty strong kind of couple of buildings compound. They'll be going right out into the open as soon as they go into the edge of the circle.
Yeah, so close yet so far, right? Literally just 5 meters away, but 5 meters into no man's land. So they are definitely hesitant to go in. I do, however, see it does dip down a little bit there. So maybe they can find some crevices to stay alive in. The sightlines for Bravis won't be able to reach. It's really only Red Moon that would be a problem, but Red Moon's got to worry about 7-up themselves, so they should be okay. And now the teams, YMCA and Big, trying to rotate into the zone. And of course, Eastern Stars, such a formidable team with their gun skill, just absolutely blowing everybody away. You see right there, that's YMCA down to 1, YMCA down to 0.
Talk about the YMCA. Hate to say I told you so, but Eastern Stars, nice job by them. They have the compound, they have the circle, they have control. Now they have the eliminations. Eliminate Skate trying to push in, and they're left with just one Versace. The solo player maybe can get the revive on the Shesh, but I can't see that happening. Especially because Bravis, the second Spanish representative, throws a nade and picks it up. Nicely done by Bravis.
Beautiful grenade, and we're back onto 7-up. So it does look like they decided to finish out that team that was underneath them. That's very good to see. Now they don't have to worry about that team anymore. The only team they got to worry about is the Eastern Stars. Eastern Stars with the zone. Once again, we saw them struggle last game on that air and go with the wild shifts. This time around, the wild shifts definitely favoring Eastern Stars, really blessing them with a lot of these circles. They're up to 5 elims already with 4 players up. I would have to say Eastern Stars is looking very good to take this game.
It's kind of between them and Bravis, really. Yeah, okay, 7-up can do a little something from the eastern edge because I think it's a tiny bit of low ground that they're able to use, and they have multiple vehicles. But I really only see this battle coming down to Eastern Stars and the members of Bravis, as uncanny the last player loses his life. Sound is knocked. Eastern Stars are able to find 7-up in towards it. This is Storm with the UMP. Takes a little bit of damage himself as the blue zone starts to engulf. Gets closer to the edge of phase 6.
We're down to 3 teams. All 3 teams with 4 members alive. It's a 4v4v4. Bravis gets that zone shift. They get the advantage there. Eastern Stars and 7-up, they both have to push into the zone at the same time, which might actually just work out for them because both teams can potentially pressure Bravis. So Bravis's strong position is now contended by not just 4 players, but 8 players. We'll have to see how Eastern Star decides to do this, though. Eastern Stars could decide to take the easier fight with 7-up, forcing them to counter-react and pretty much giving the win to Bravis, or Eastern Stars could sweep around the eastern side and both 7-up and Eastern Stars could fight Bravis together. Let's take a look and see which way it will go. It looks like Eastern Stars going to work towards the left side. They're going to work towards the 7-up side.
I think they should kind of be working towards both sides. Suppress 7-up on one side, shift over towards the left. The one thing that Eastern Stars has against them is they have 0 vehicles. So they're all on foot. Those smoke plays are going to be so important. The one thing they have to their advantage is that Bravis has no real elevation, right? Because it's all flat, there's no extra level of elevation to massively shoot down the Eastern Stars. I would argue Bravis maybe aren't being as proactive as they should be. Maybe that spread is a little bit too thin where they can't focus on 7-up as much. One vehicle has been picked up by Eastern Stars. They make it in. Morphe is knocked down. Bazzi makes it full in to the edge of the circle. Has to anchor himself down as Bravis suffers another knock.
Bazzi definitely intended to use that vehicle to set up a wall, but he overshot that bus, and with that bus's position, it is not good to use for cover, but the shots are even better. And so this is exactly what I was saying, like both teams working down the Bravis side, so now Bravis is super hurt. Now it's the Eastern Stars and 7-up looking like in a better position. 7-up though down to 2 members with 2 players up. Eastern Stars with only 1 player knocked right now, and he's already getting revived. Oh, not yet. But the Eastern Stars, they don't need that revive. They're taking shots everywhere and just cutting down the enemy opposition on both fronts.
7-up are down. Bravis left with just 2. Spyro does pull off the revive, but in that time, in those 8-7 seconds that it takes to pull off a revive, Eastern Stars have the spread. They have the guns. They have the talent. They have the ability. They have the experience to finish this game out. Lovely couple of nades by Bravis. Louis does connect on the Bazzi. Credit where it's due. but they need to do something with this. It's still 2v3. Just go for it, Bravas. Either way, it's been a beautifully consistent couple of games for the Spanish side. Off the back of a third place, gonna finish in second. 5 eliminations. Can they close it out and turn it around? A couple of shots by Capahala in through the smokes. Louis, Spyro, down they go. Eastern Stars, Biddy Ba with the chicken dinner.
Eastern Stars dropped one game, and just like that, they bring it back with not just only a good game, but they bring it back with a chicken. Plus, they had a total of, I believe, 11 eliminations. Eastern Stars really showing how, how to get it done. I will say they got very heavily circle blessed, but you did see in that ending zone, it was not an easy one to navigate. They had to fight 2 teams at once, but they employed the smoke cover. They employed the cover of their teammates. We saw Bazzi move up with the bus. He managed to find a spot, and the shots were so crisp and clean. They did not waste a single bullet. Every opportunity they had to knock a player, they essentially took, and it connected.
Yeah, that's true, and that's where you do genuinely see that kind of MGC experience come out. They absolutely schooled both 7-Up and Bravas. You got to retake the test, guys, because if you want to pass, you got to be able to learn quicker, and it's just such a great lesson that Eastern Stars pulled out in the end. Because I do appreciate that 7-Up were a little bit more kind of proactive on their side, and they knew that they had a certain path they wanted to take. I don't think they maybe realized or they were hoping that Eastern Stars wouldn't have been as proactive as they were, so they could take that solo fight against Bravas. In the end, they didn't. They went down in third, and Bravas cleaned up second place. So yeah, good effort from all 3, but Eastern Stars show why they are a PMGC caliber team.
Yeah, I also want to give credit to 7-Up. We saw they had an idea in mind, but the execution was not there. But as long as you have the idea, you guys, the team can definitely work towards practicing correctly and practicing effectively. So shout outs to 7-Up there for their play towards that.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Great Miramar game. It felt a little bit Sandhawk-y. Talking about Sandhawk, we're going to be moving into the 3rd game of the day. But before that, we're going to go ahead and take it to a quick break. Don't go away. See you guys in a bit. Welcome back! Hope you enjoyed the break. Yes, I'm excited, I'm pumped, I'm ready. We've had 2 games, myself, Imperium with the wonderful Zute, and like, I know it's cliche to say, but I didn't think today's games could be much better. I'm not saying they're better, but I definitely think they've matched in a really good way what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, so yesterday we saw some big name teams just dominate the entirety of the day, which is amazing to see. This time around, we're seeing some teams, you know, just really start shining through. Bravos, and in particular, had a really good game 1, really good game 2. I believe in both games they finished in 3rd place. 7 Up, you were actually just criticizing game 1. I mean, albeit like, you know, in a constructive manner, but in game 2, 7 Up comes back in his 2nd place finish. LÄNDER as well. I was the one criticizing them in game number 1, how they just did not take advantage of their position, did not do this, did not do that, and they had a good zone, and it hard shifted off them, but they still finished in 4th overall with 12 points. So like, it is quite amazing to see these teams really stepping up, and just, you know, each day it's a little bit different, and it's, you know, good in much different ways.
And uncanny as well, just to highlight the Portuguese side, because not only has the Portuguese community, to be fair, have had a bit of a rough time. I don't think the skill level is as heavily there in the Portuguese teams, but uncanny, in yesterday's 4 games, they only scored a total of 6 points. So in this game 2, to get 10, just to give them props for that. I recognize that. I see that, guys. Continue with that. I do have to say, kind of talking about that 2nd game, I think a part of why, a decent part, and it's not against them, it's just a variable, a part of why the likes of Uncanny, Lemniscate, and even 7 Up got decent points is because we saw 3 to 4 teams commit in phase 3 deep into San Martin, and they paid the price massively.
Yeah, the San Martin play out of a lot of teams. I believe every single team that went into San Martin, none of them really made it out with good overall points. So if they decided, you know, to commit to another spot, and I saw that they, you know, all the teams in San Martin had 4 players. If they just take those 4 players and commit to a fight elsewhere, take a better position on the map, then that's just, you know, a huge difference between a couple of points and potentially, you know, 12, 15 points.
Yeah, for sure. And Respect, unfortunately, only getting 3 points in this. Game 4, Mania Men only getting 3 points. But Chasmac only getting 1 as well. So a little bit of kind of unfortunate inconsistency for a couple of teams in this game number 2. Once again, we're going into Sanhok. That's where the big RNG factor comes into play. I'm hoping that it's going to be similar to yesterday's Sanhok game, because when you kind of have less of an RNG factor like we saw in yesterday's Sanhok game, it really allows the teams to shine in a big way, and that's what we saw yesterday. I hope it's the same today.
Also, I'm hoping we see the continued vendetta between Showdown and Mega Power. Right, we didn't really get to see this in day 1, day 2, but now for 2 maps in a row, they have purposely dropped on each other in the center of the map. We saw a Pachinki fight in the beginning, and then followed up by a Picado fight. And now, I know Boot Camp, you know, if I'm not mistaken, Mega Power actually does take Boot Camp?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
So we might just see a fight in Boot Camp as well between Showdown. I don't know what it is with Showdown and Mega Power, but today of all days, they just don't like each other. Maybe some words were exchanged, you know, after day number 2, and you know, behind the scenes, maybe there's some community rivalry starting to brew. But you know, you love to see it. I think it's a good fight back and forth.
Yes. Yeah, it is, and it does show the resilience. I call it stubbornness at times. But I appreciate that competitive players, it's a bit of a sign of weakness to give up your loot drop. I don't look at it as a sign of weakness. I look at it as just having some common sense and saying, hey, look, you take our spot, we'll go somewhere else. and will be more successful in the end game. That's the way I look at it. I just look at it as a more sensible move if a team does decide to give up their drop spot to another team.
Well, it's just adapting, right? You can either adapt to continue to fight and out-strategize them in the hot drop fight, or you can adapt and learn different rotations and loot spots for the rest of the game. Now, it's a toss-up for me as a competitive player when it comes to giving up a spot, but it just comes down to what are your team strengths? Do you know if your team is highly skilled mechanical wise, right? Are they a type of team to like to take those isolated 4v4 engagements in cities with multiple angles, or are they a team that works better as a team when it comes to rotations and covering each other on those longer late game type of meta strategies? So just identify your team strength and go from there. And as far as identify team strengths in Sandhawk, well, there's only one real skill you need for Sandhawk, which is your team able to hit some nasty shots and work together and push together as a 4-man army?
Yep, exactly. And can those fights be not only engaged but executed as quickly as possible? Because that's something that tends to punish teams, is that they'll take too long with an engagement. Next thing you know, they're getting third party. So I'll be looking out for that one. Trying to do a couple of rough calculations, at least in terms of the community points. I believe Romania have scored a total of 43 points in the 2 games so far, because they were in fourth overall in the rankings on a total of 124 points, only 16 away from Germany, for example, and Big haven't really had the best of time so far. So we could see that kind of pass through from Romania. And with 2 more games to go, I know Chazmak had a good first game, but with 1 point in the second game, once again, we could end the day with Romania on top of the standings.
Yeah, I think as far as Romania is concerned, it's just Eastern Stars, right? Eastern Stars is so dominant. And now that we're back on to Sandhawk, let's take a look at how Eastern Stars plays this one out. We saw yesterday Eastern Stars utilize the med strat, right? We compare them to the likes of Nigma Galaxy. Yeah. They loot far down in the southern area of the map, and they stocked up on all the meds, and they just got it through their placement points. So we might see Eastern Stars do the same again. We might see some teams that saw what Eastern Stars did and maybe try to employ a similar strategy. And there, right off the gate, you see Eastern Stars dropping right at the beginning of the map, or right at the beginning of the plane path, to start their loot cycle as fast as possible, to farm as many first aids as fast as possible.
Nobody going to Paradise Resort. It's the first observation I see. Chazmak going for that kind of northern Tapmock cow drop to kick things off, and it's Lemniscate and Showdown Gaming both in Camp Bravo to start this chinky game. It's going to be a good battle showdown. Every game so far, they've had a hot drop battle.
Yeah, they're just keeping up with it. My question is, I don't know why they don't just drop boot camp instead and fight Mega Power once again. But they're still sticking true to their hot drop fighting. They are kind of on the back foot this time around, losing 1 player in the engagement very early on. It's a 3v4 situation. Lemniscate does have the man advantage. I do want to see Showdown kind of play a bit more defensive now, because the ball's in Lemniscate's court, and it's up to Lemniscate to finish this one out or potentially fumble it, and giving a chance to Showdown to come back in this engagement.
Can you give any kind of logical reason on why Rexpect are split the way they're split?
Oh,
yeah.
No, that's the first time I've seen a split like that out of any team. Yeah, It's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I looked at it and went, what the hell is that? This fight continues on, and Showdown have at least gotten a little bit of revenge and return to fire as Naz tries to find one of the Lemniscate players, turns around and gets ripped apart by the UMP premixes there. To these provide a level of support, I think gets to trade. The counter knock comes through onto Shesh, followed by Malik onto Freezy. Is this a Showdown turnaround? I think that's going to be the case. They do win the fight against Lemniscate and keep 2 players alive.
Oh, losing 2 players though for 4 ELEM points, not the best, but I don't think Showdown's really kind of interested in, you know, finishing the game out strong. I think they're just kind of set on just showing dominance at the beginning, and they've won 2 of their 3 fights, which is very good for them. And this being Sandhawk, maybe they could just default to a med strat off the beginning. We see them, you know, land on the northeastern side of the map. There's some, you know, buildings scattered around there which could potentially have multiple first aids. So the med strat, it could work. There's not as much loot to go around there as, like, say, maybe where the Eastern Stars are looting. But when you're down to 2 players, that's definitely the move to make.
Because you kind of started your point off by highlighting that they kind of lost 2 players for the benefit of 4 eliminations. It wasn't the best. I agree, but to give Showdown a little bit of extra credit, they were the team to lose a player first, right? So to kind of turn that around, you know, just to give them a little bit more respect or props for that bigger turnaround and to come out on top of that fight. We see La Familia around, YMCA have Painan underneath there. Control phase 1. We haven't talked about it so far, but it's a little bit similar to yesterday's Sandhawk game, predominantly in the mainland. No real trifecta thought, no real risk of that kind of northwest or southwest island. That'll give a bit of extra security to these teams.
You know what Rexpect is doing? They're doing a med strat. If you take a look at the 3 players on the southwest, they have looted almost like everything besides Ruins on that southwestern island. Ruins and Camp Charlie, but they're literally hitting Nakan, they're hitting Sami, and they hit everything in between that and Painan with their split. So might see 2 teams med stratting this one out now. And yeah, to touch on the circle, yeah, that's a very familiar circle to yesterday's games. Albeit a little bit further to the northeast, we could see something interesting there where it shifts continuously up to the northeast, and that will make for some interesting gameplay because that area of the map not super familiar for most of these teams, I would imagine.
Red Moon and Bravis right in the dead center for the time being. I find the rotation coming out from the side of Team Glore to be really interesting. They dropped on that northwest island, and instead of maybe going for that kind of bridge on the top of the northwest island or the trifecta rotation, they went for the water small island onto the coastal line of boot camp as a rotation. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just I find it interesting because it's less utilized by teams.
Yeah, that rotation, I think what teams are trying to do is just take rotations that are less utilized, because the more rotations utilized, especially on a map like Sandhawk, that gives way to more planned, you know, traps. You know, when you see a team rotate a certain way on Sandhawk, which, by the way, rotations on Sandhawk is very limited. There's not many options. So if you can find a second, you know, alternative option that's not as used, teams can employ that to avoid potential traps and potential fights. Showdown Gaming here down to 2, running into another team 7-up. They do have a buggy, so they can eject out of there, but I'm pretty sure Showdown wanted some time to loot in peace, as this player right here, not a single first aid to his name, just 7 bandages, a level 1 vest. Not looking the best for Showdown, but hey, they caught the 4 eliminations, and they did turn around that 3v4 situation as well, so credit due to where it should be due.
Yeah, made their way into the edge of the circle as a full squad. It's positive, but they're down on the low ground. They need to move up this hill as they are currently doing to grab a couple of extra elevation points to, of course, look for that information. A botation is being laid out by the members of Uncanny. It's something I love to see. It makes sense in this kind of phase on. Possibly a little bit late in phase 1, but I appreciate it.
Rotations never go well though on Sandhawk. I'm gonna throw it out there.
I disagree, man. I disagree. I call cap on that, man. I call cap on that, man.
No, I've seen so many botations where the team just gets completely ripped out of the boat, and then they're just left swimming in the water, and then the Blues eventually, you know. But every once in a blue moon, a botation could work out. But like, I mean, just think back to PMGC, the league stages, right? East and West. We saw some botations, and very rarely was it. You never hear something like that botation by Team XYZ.
Come on,
really,
come on,
you know, kind of secure them the top. You just don't.
Come on,
that.
come on. Sorry, man. I will defend a botation for my life.
Okay.
I will defend it for my life. I get where you're coming from. I genuinely do. But I think a botation can be a bit of a big brain move when it's pulled out. I get where you're coming from, though.
Do you think it's just not done enough so teams don't know how to fully like utilize the botation timings yet? Like, is that kind of your counter, so to say?
Yes.
Okay,
that's my counter, because I think a botation has a finer time frame of execution compared to other path lines or other rotations, right? So that's where I think that's where it comes from overall. Either way, I digress. Big and Rexpect kind of fighting in the blue. You talked about how Rexpect hadn't really made their way towards Ruins. Well, now they have, and they find a couple of the big players.
Yeah, it's just scrappy fighting in the blue. I'm surprised to see Big of all teams out here deep in the blue.
I know.
Yeah, like you think they'd just be the team to go into zone and take fights, but maybe they're out here looking for the same thing, looking for those first aids, taking a page from, you know, Eastern Stars, seeing how good of a, you know, Sandhawk game that they had, but running into another team, Rex, also hunting for first aids in the blue zone. So Rex is very split up. This is not good news for Big, because you see them on the low ground at these compounds, and Rex could start angling up on them and potentially take out the big team or just camp them out to their deaths.
We'll have to wait and see. Uncanny, their rotation works out. Nobody has died. They've made it to land. Now 7-Up is in front of them. Has 7-Up got any kind of idea that they're there? I would like to think not, but 7-Up do have a good spread, so it allows them to get levels of information. Phase 2 shifts over to the west, but it's a good circle shift on Phase 2. Cannot argue with it.
Yeah, definitely a good circle. It shifts away from that water as well. And that botation on that east side, is that 7-Up getting into a fight with the botation team? It is. Uncanny taking a fight right now. They breached onto the water and somehow got the better of 7-Up. Getting a knock and a finish.
Imperium 1, Zute 0. Just putting that out there. Sorry.
Okay, let's see how the rest of this fight finishes out. I would say Uncanny. Oh, wait, what is 7-Up doing? Wait, why are they just... What? They're just gonna push out into the... I have no words. I have no words.
See, one thing you gotta think about, Zute. This isn't PMGC. Okay.
I mean, but still. But
I know, man. I know. Trust me, I know. I'm aware I'm right more so on a bit of a default, but I got it again when we're commentating this lobby. That's where our kind of analytical side needs to adjust in that regard. And
okay, fair.
Going by what I saw, fair play to 7-Up. They deserve. They deserve credit in that regard. They got a botation, they called out 7-Up, and they grabbed the skyline for it. That's it. You take it. You take it.
But why did 7-Up run across in the open like that? Like, that was...
I don't know, man. I don't know. I wish I could tell you that, but that also plays into the kind of volatility of what I've highlighted with 7-Up's performances and in the points that they've gathered. It's very up and down. Yeah, okay, Game 2 and Game 1 were decent, but when you followed it up with Game 3 and that kind of mistake, you feel bad.
I definitely do feel bad. Well, we're back onto Mega Power on your screen, holding a nice 2-2 split at pretty, the two hills north of the road, center of the map. This is a split you see a lot of higher level teams play, and I think a lot of teams are starting to adapt this into their default play style. You see, it's a very safe split. Teams do have to trek across the open road and up the hill before any, contact can be made close range, so teams can, Mega Power can adjust to whatever team might be pushing them hard. And we do see the blue zone start closing in. Team Uncanny, did win that fight. They are going to breach onto that northeastern side of the circle. Big and Rex deep in the blue. Definitely both of these teams are hunting for first aids, which is, a good strategy, but for Big, I'm kind of surprised to see that.
Yeah, for sure. They're closer to the edge of the circle, so I think they're less likely to pull it off. They can, excuse me, push up boot camp hill as we get. Oh God! I'll just get into phase 3 as I start to cough my lungs off. But 4 Romanian men, they're kind of on the other side of the hill, overlooking Mega Power. They did get an initial knock onto Mega Power, but they obviously were not in a position to push it. Bravis is down onto the eastern side in the compound, overlooking likes of Mega Power, but that phase 3 shift down in the southeast, pretty much all the teams bar Uncanny, Big, and Rexpect are in the circle.
Yeah, that circle shift was very nice for a lot of the teams, but at the same time, that just means a lot of the teams don't have to do anything, and the next shift is going to be very not nice for many of the teams, because there's going to be so many teams left alive, and some of the teams are just going to get a short end of the stick when it comes to that hard shift.
The big hill that needs to be controlled is a hill that's above Quarry. I think La Familia were closest to it. If they can grab that and plant their flag right on top, I could see a pretty good result from La Familia in this Sandhawk game. Because it's not La Familia, because we're looking at them right now. It's one of the other teams. But my point is, it's there for the taking, while all the other teams around them are kind of picking each other off one by one. For me, Mega Power Zute, I don't know if you agree, this is a time in the game which they need to group up together. Their split is very risky.
I would have to disagree, because if you notice on that circle shift, a lot of teams are still in the zone, meaning they're unlikely to move. And on a map like Sandhawk, you don't move unless if you have to, because you're going to end up taking a fight the second you do move, and that just invites teams to third party. So that split is kind of like just a buffer zone. Like you see Mega Power right there on the northwest side of your screen. They did, adapt it to be a little bit closer. So they did adjust a little bit to what you might, favor Imperium. But it's like the teams are there's so many teams just scatter around. Look at the southeast of Eastern Stars. Look at La Familia on the further south. They're all playing split, and they're trying to maintain spacing. The second they group up, they allow more teams to encroach on their territory, and when that circle shifts, it makes it much more hectic to rotate and move and fight into the next zones.
Absolutely love that point you make. Well, I appreciate you so much as an analyst, because you bring that counter, you bring that perspective on board. Eastern Stars have a lovely spread themselves. Glore, one of the teams that I fear could possibly threaten Mega Power, have rotated very nicely through this game so far onto the southern part of Paradise Resort. It has a high play of ground that you're able to overlook. They're not overstepping their mark, while still holding on to the edge. It's all quiet on the Western Front. We lost one team, we lost a few players. There hasn't really been too much action in the last 3 to 4 minutes.
No, not at all. It's because the circle, it kind of favored everyone. So this next circle shift, this is where all the Sandhawk action is about to break out. Rex, meanwhile, on that southern side, about to finally make it into zone. Curious to see how many first aids they got. And there's that circle shift. A hard shift to the west. Eastern Stars, La Familia, Big, YMCA, Red Moon. All of a sudden, I'm naming up to 10 teams that don't have the circle, when previously they were all just chilling. This is Sandhawk, ladies and gentlemen. The action's about to really start ramping up here.
It was YMCA who was closer to that hill, and they kind of did go up there, but they didn't really. They kind of stuck to the edge of the cliffside, and now they're getting sandwiched by two teams, I think La Familia and Big, who made their way up the hill in the right way. So, good theory, poor execution from the Nordic side of YMCA, Topsy and Ketu, the last player standing, but they're not really close to each other. Lovely nade by Mihi. Let's top EC down to around 20 health. Waiting for the time to pull off a first aid, but I don't think he's going to have the time. Indeed, the angle played by Clay. Once again, a third party of La Familia gets a knock.
Yeah, that sandwich really coming through, and just they do not want to be the key ingredient in that sandwich, but they are. We have Chasmont Gaming here, breaching the compound, taking a fight with Bravis. This is fire is just raining down right now. Chasmont on the aggression, so they're kind of at a disadvantage. Bravis just has to, do the defense correctly, but Bravis actually has 2 players knocked. They were playing split at these compounds, and I think one of them is going for a revive across. That is not the right play, in my opinion. Going for that revive is just sacrificing another player, so they're gonna just default it to a 3v4 situation rather than trying to completely finish out the fight and getting a full reset afterwards.
Don't disagree. See how it works out. A bit of a third party for Mega Power. Rex finds Lewis. This is Sandhawk, baby. Phase 4. What do you expect? If you're going to take that fight, you need to close out concisely. And that's exactly what wasn't done. And they get third party. YMCA, the last player up. Evil Boy, I don't know how he's still alive, but he is. Well, wasted in the blue. Gets knocked the kill. Possibly going to be confirmed. Indeed, Big moved away. They're like, look, we're having none of this. You can take your own fight. We're in the circle.
Eastern Stars trying to breach into the zone. I do see all the players kind of just making it into the circle, so maybe no med stratting this time around. Or Doran going in. So, I mean, that does leave Bazzi somewhere on the map, and Bazzi was the player that was med stratting last time, so I think they do have that strategy set up and ready to go. Right here. The last player. Oh, not the last player. Where's the rest of his team? Papa actually getting some really nice shots on the trades, and he will get that knock and thirst. That's another elim point for this team right here. The team Uncanny, the botation. I mean, they botated all the way to the northeast, and now they somehow fought their way all the way towards the center of this zone.
Oh my god, it was meant to be in Sandhawk. You have Papa, you have Blue. Not only Papa Blue, but also Papa Smurf, where it's also blue. It all makes sense. The Illuminati, it's been confirmed, right? It's been confirmed. There's 11 teams left, 31 players in. Respect. I don't know how. Okay, yeah, no, it does make sense how they shifted in, but they're down to 2 players. Greek Army is on one side of them, Big is on the other, who's has Swave knocked down. So Mihi, Bisa Mazara is there. Salazar is called out. Bravis having another overall wonderful game for the time being. Only 1 elimination, but they have 2 players left.
Take note of Big right now. Remember yesterday's Sandhawk game, we had a team in Big's position, but they all sat in the compound and they ended up with only 1 elimination and barely any placement points, right? Overall, they finished in 5th. Look at what Big's doing this time. No one from Big is sitting in the compound. Instead, they're spread out. So if Big does this correctly, we're going to see a much different ending result for a team's position at that area. And in my opinion, it's going to work out much better than the team that sat inside the compound. Big might potentially sacrifice some players playing split, but if done correctly, even with those sacrifices, they'll end up pretty much securing high placement, but also a lot of elims. And right now, Big hasn't lost a single player, and I really want to see how many elim points they have playing this split outside of the compound rather than sitting inside it.
Well, it's worked out for them as they've eliminated the whole of Greek Army, taking out another direct spec players who I think is the other players healing off. Red Moon was that team that you talked about that camped the compounds in yesterday's Sandhawk game. I didn't get much for their work in yesterday's game, but now they're being a lot more proactive on the edge of the circle. They need to take down 4 Romanian men and push into the edge of the circle. Shadow Wen trying to heal up with the first aids, pick up a couple of extra placement points. Just 5 teams left 16 players alive. I think 3 of the teams have a full squad up. That is 4 Romanian men. Sorry, not 4 Romanian men. That is, I believe, the side of Big and
Mega Power.
Moon. And Mega Power. So 3 teams have a full squad up.
Mega Power coming in with 4. Same with Big as well. A lot of 4-man teams left alive towards this end game, which is very, surprising to see, especially on a map like Sandhawk. But that 4-man team of Red Moon getting whittled down to 0 as Big coming from the side. And look at Big. Take a look at Big's elims right now. A total of 10. They lost Beast in the process of playing that split. But this is what I'm talking about, Imperium. It is okay to sacrifice players and not have 4 alive in the late game, because Red Moon the other day had 4 alive and they couldn't do anything because they gave up so much space. But Big not giving up that space, instead controlling so much of it. Now with 3 players, it's looking like they could potentially win this game.
But they have the Might and Mega Power behind them, in front of them, whatever you want to call it. The one thing that could go against Mega Power is Shadow and snaked it in, got out of the blue. Top 3 for Chazmak, the French representatives in today's games. Big from Germany, Mega Power from the Nordic countries. These are your final 3 teams. Big has the top of the hill. That can be a little bit of a disadvantage if you push down too heavily. You're overexposed, but Swave does make it count. The knock on the wreck. Mihi onto Rite. That's another knock coming through. It's 2v3, and oh my lord, they clean it up as quick as you can ask. They're the janitors of the lobby. Big, get the chicken dinner.
I think Big got the chicken dinner, and they also finished it with maybe 17 or 18 eliminations. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Imperium. I think day number 1, we made an analysis of, it was actually Big on Miramar, where they lost 2 of their players. We were constantly questioning them. Should they continue playing split in that city zone? I forgot the name of the city, but it is southwest on the map.
Yeah,
and every Chumasera, exactly. Every single phase, we were like, should Big group up? You were like, Big should. I want to see Big group up, but Big never grouped up. They lost 2 of their players and ended up closing that game out with a chicken. Sure, they got a little circle blast, but this time around, on day number 2, we saw a Sandhawk game where Red Moon, they did group up early. They didn't lose a single player into the late game, and they couldn't do anything with it because it gave up so much positioning power. And then Big into today's game, same exact position on Sandhawk. They played the split. They played outside of the buildings, and what do you know? They lost a player early on, holding that split. Didn't have 4 into the late game, but it didn't matter. They 3v4 Mega Power off positional power alone. They got the chicken, and not just any chicken. They got up to 18 elim points, if not 17. I didn't see at the very end exactly how much, 17. But they got a lot.
It was 17 eliminations. I was able to check it out just in time, and you're dead right with your point. They pulled it off wonderfully, and they were in the blue for the first 2 circles. Okay, they were closer to the edge of the circle compared to Rexpect, who were the other team that were massively in the blue. But they made it count in the end, and they took control. It was actually that hillside that was above Quarry that I recommended for. That's where it really started for Big, right? I think that was the kind of the foundation of them closing out this game in a confident way. And as you said, that trade really worked out in the end. So great result for Big, the solo German representatives for today's games, and they grab a chicken dinner. But don't go away. We have one more game for you guys coming up. It's going to be back on to Wrangle. So don't go away. See you guys in a bit. We are back here at the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament with myself, Dream, and the wonderful Zute. We've just had game 3 over and done with in Sanok, and it was just a lesson, once again, a lesson from a PMPL level team and Big on how to perform in this map.
Yeah, I absolutely love what Big did, not just because it was a good game for them, but we could literally draw parallels over the 3 days of what works, what doesn't work, and just when a team knows what they're doing, just how much, you know, they can shine through by playing riskier, playing those splits. I mean, I think at some point in time, people decided splits were not correct because we saw so many teams just start losing players. And I remember a time where casters would constantly say, I don't know why this team just doesn't group up. Why are they just losing players left and right needlessly?
I would say that, yes.
Yeah, so I think it's just during that period of time, teams are trying to figure out the true potential of how to play this game at the maximum efficiency level. Now with Big, you know, they are PMPL level team and they're playing against teams that are just pretty much, to put bluntly, lower ranked. But you can see when it's done correctly, even at the high level tiers, how much it can pay off.
Yeah.
And the theory behind it makes sense, right? If you come down to the game theory behind why, you know, splits work and how to do splits correctly, it all makes sense. And Big is showing why that theory is put into work and why it is definitely something for teams to start exploring and start perfecting.
It was a good result for Mega Power, can't argue. When you look at, they were kind of fighting with 4 Romanian men, for example, and they had a 2-2 split. They come out with 21 points. So once again, what you're talking about is relative in these games. Chazmak with 17 points as a sole French representatives. Once again, it's a community event. They are currently coming into today's games as the community leader, but with only one team being represented, it's important that Chazmak gets another good result to end the day to hopefully keep France on top of the leaderboard.
And 4 Romanian men right there in 5th place finish. I don't think we've really seen 4 Romanian men do well and then also Eastern Stars do well. I think it's always one or the other. So in a way, I guess that's a good balance. At least one team out of the Romanian side is always doing decent in a match. But of course, you want them both to be doing well. And I'm surprised Eastern Stars did not go for that med strat. Like,
yeah,
we saw them do it yesterday quite beautifully well, and they executed it pretty easily. This time around, it's not there. They got 1 placement point, and we saw where they were looting. They could have easily met up to at least, you know, a top 5 finish. So maybe they decided to just change their strat completely, or something happened, some mishap, something went wrong there.
For sure. What has been going right is to continue on Uncanny. It's not this, you know, ridiculously strong performance, but to draw the continued parallel of how they did in their first 4 games in the PMECT. It was something like 17 points they got in their first four games. Sorry, 6 points. Got only 6 points in their first 4 games. Whereas game 1 today, they got 6 points. Game 2 in Miramar, they got 10 points. This game, getting 5 points. It's just that step up. It's that evolution. And I always say, look, the biggest team that you need to worry about is yourself, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you're improving on your own results, that's where you're going in the right direction. You can't control how the other teams around you do, but you can control as much as possible how you do. And that's what Uncanny have done today. And we're seeing that growth. We're seeing that evolution.
I really love that you bring that up, because in the wise words of Order, the FMVP representing Nova, they did an interview with him going into the very last day of the PMGC, right? And they asked him, you know, what do you think about these other teams? Which teams do you think is going to give you the biggest problems? And Order's response was literally like, I don't care about the other teams. We're just going to worry about ourselves and make sure we do everything that we know correctly. And that's the mindset out of the championship team that has won 2 back-to-back PMGCs, 2 back-to-back PECs, and just the most formidable team, hands down. Nobody can argue. The Nova squad,
Yeah,
and that's the
for
same
sure.
mindset.
Yep. Yeah, couldn't have said that better myself. Okay, be aware and study your opponents, but in terms of in your head, don't let them live in your head rent free, right?
Yes.
That's the last thing you want to do. Focus on your own gameplay, you focus on your own job, and that's the most important thing. But and it doesn't matter what level you're playing at, that mentality still applies. The quicker you can apply that mentality, in my opinion, the quicker you're going to grow, the quicker you're going to improve. Just obviously it's going to be less consistently happening at this stage of the game. The Nordic teams, to bring it a little bit back to kind of mega power, YMCA got 4 points. They were coming into today's games in, I think it was like they were coming in today's games in third place. So once again, having both teams playing in today's games, it's important that they get as many points to kind of create that cushion, so that when they only have one team competing in the games, that they're able to soften that blow a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. We're 3 days in. It is kind of still the beginning of this tournament, but as these days pass by, there's obviously just less and less games, and it's time, if you're in the lead, to create that cushion, like you mentioned. If you're behind, it's time for you guys to really start ramping things up, because as the days go on, it's not just there's less games to play, but the mental part of it, right? If you still haven't managed to find a footing, or your comeback, so to say, it's very unlikely that you'll manage to find it towards the last few days, where the pressure is much bigger and the point gap becomes bigger as well.
La Familia, one of the Italian community teams, I'm kind of wondering what's gone wrong for them today. In their first set of games, they got a total of 48 points in 4 games. Solid results, solid consistency. But in today, it's been very up and down. 10 points in game 1. Can't argue with that, with a total of 2 eliminations. Game 2, they got 6 points with 4 eliminations. And in this game just gone, they got 1 point with 1 elimination. I haven't noticed anything massive. The biggest thing in Miramar game was the San Martin. There's something that's gone wrong between the first day and today.
Oh man, it's some teams just aren't consistent yet. Like maybe certain circle shifts, certain zones just play in their favor, and they could capitalize on it, which is good. That's one aspect of the game. But then adapting to circles that you're not familiar with, that's the learning part of it. And so I think for all of the teams that don't do well in certain maps, it's a learning process, and hopefully they're taking a little bit of information along the way, game by game, match by match. They're improving ever so slowly. And now we're into the final match of Erangel. We have the playing path on your screen, a far southern playing path from the west to east side. A lot of these teams will have trouble, rotating and moving up to the north to continue their loot phase. And you see a lot of these teams all dropping up to the north. No teams in Quarry, no teams in Fairpier, no teams in Prim. So a lot of teams avoiding those areas, and quite a few teams towards the military island side. I think we see at least 3 teams, one in Nova, one in military base, and then one doing, you mentioned it earlier the other day, that kind of like Navi inspired split on the western side of military base.
Hey, let's hope that we have a bit of a nicer phase 1. Not directly a military island phase 1, although that would complement the playing path, but something a bit more central. The Pachinki battle still going down between Showdown and Mega Power. Red Moon on your screens have done a good job of dropping together in towards Gaka and making their way in. Phase 1 down on the southwest. It's hovering on the island, but other than that, it is a little bit of a familiar circle for these teams.
Yeah, that southwest circle is actually really good for that playing path, in my opinion, right? A lot of the teams that jumped out, they're pretty much right along the line, and the playing path did go from west to east, so that does mean teams can loot quicker and also get into the zone faster. For Mini Man with a really nice split. Red Moon just looting up right there, but the Pachinki fight is what I'm focused on right now. It's the rematch, Mega Power versus Showdown Gaming. Now, Mega Power does get the opening knock right there onto Showdown Gaming, and immediately a trade comes through. Yeah, it is 1 down for each member, and it's actually the 2 members closest to each other that both got traded out. So quite an even trade right here. I think Showdown's going to be able to get that reset. Same with Mega Power. But, oh my gosh!
Oh, Lodges. Okay.
What?
Okay. Take care then, bye-bye now. Take that, Showdown. Leaves him down with just 2. Rex is crawling away. The revive doesn't come out. The confirmation by IU, I believe, knows Malik. Came out Barita. Gets a knock on the Malik. IU, what are you doing? Why are you there? You're providing absolutely nothing for your team, at least in my eyes right now. Malik is eliminated. Premix has absolutely nothing to go on. He comes out of his shack, gets knocked down. IU's on his own.
Yeah, IU. I think IU was back here to go for the revive, right? And you can't even really fault IU. On the flip side of things, you can ask, why were the other 2 members there that just got knocked and flushed out, right? It's a team game. There could be equal faults all across the table, but it's just very obvious as a team. They weren't synergized in that positioning.
Yeah.
They weren't synergized in that, defense, so to say. Now, IU's in a 1v3 situation. He really needed that knock. Instead, he goes down to 50 HP. And while they got more bodies to throw at him, IU should be going down here. And yep, that peak does come through. Mega Power once again winning the fight in Pachinki.
Yeah, seems like they're the kings of Pachinki. 7-Up. Going for that split drop around school, apartments, Rawsock. Lots of loot that they're able to grab. They're close to the edge of the circle, but they need to take advantage of it. Rexpect Nacho is there on his own. I don't know what the Rexpect are doing. They're
He's driving away.
Drops. Yeah, but like he's being hunted. But like Rexpect's drops in the last 2 games to me have been very weird. Just really weird. I must contact Salazar and kind of find out what is the theory behind these unorthodox split drops, because there's to me there's like, especially in Sanhok, there's like unwritten markers on split drop. So there's a split drop in this part of the map, split drop in this part of the map, split drop in this part of the map. In Sanhok they pulled off definitely crossing many lines. In this game, once again, I consider that a very kind of split drop. It doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it works in these games where there's not so many extended days of play, right? Teams will just kind of be like, okay, that's interesting. Sure, whatever. We'll let them do what they want to do, and we'll do our thing. But once you get into the higher levels of, this tournament stages where there's more prize money on the line, where every team is actively studying each other, oh yeah, you will be punished the second you cross multiple lines, multiple squares.
Exactly.
So maybe Rex is just doing it for now, but hopefully, and I don't know why you just pull up directly into the face of enemies when you have nobody covering. I mean, YMCA, that was, what not to do 101.
Yeah, it's like, never mind. YMCA, why not MCA? Yeah, just sloppy play and Lemon Escape couldn't ask for easier kills. And what's worse for YMCA is that there is still another team on the coastline in the eastern side, that is Eastern Star. So if they stay here for too long, they could get backstabbed. If I were YMCA, I'd honestly rotate through Military Island. It seems like they're going in the other direction, but as a bit of an idea, I reckon they can pull it off. Let them escape. They don't want to let them escape, though.
Oh, follow that car chase down. They know it's a 4v2. Oh, what? Okay, well, fair enough. I guess they don't want to chase too far. They might want to prioritize the rotation, as the circle is far, far, far to the west side. So I like the attempt, right? I feel like they could have done it a little bit quicker, because they know it's a 4v2 situation. But hey, maybe next time they'll know we should have pushed that way quicker. But I like the decisiveness to pull off and then to go back and prioritize the rotation. You can see right here on the circle, right? Lemon Escape on that eastern side, far away from the circle. And there's still a lot of room in the center of the circle to be taken. So I want to see more teams start rotating in and taking advantage of that.
It's ridiculously empty inside this phase 1. Especially a little bit on the western side. Now, Red Moon initially dropped and looted Gaka, but they've gone more up north to South George buildings. It does leave them close to Uncanny. But I don't mind what Red Moon are doing, because once again, they dropped in the circle. They've gone kind of just outside the circle, so they kind of relatively know that it should be okay. Doctor, does he have an idea that there's another team there?
No.
It doesn't look like it.
No, yeah, he pulled up and he's just looting right off the bat, hopping out windows, just running around in the open, not a care in the world. And I'm sure him pulling up in that buggy, Red Moon has heard something or another. And I mean, it's almost unlucky for Doctor that he's running into the buildings that are not touched at all. There is nothing to give signal to him that there are enemies here. I mean, there's just vests, there's weapons, no ammo missing, and well, now Doctor knows there's enemy players here. Ed missing a few shots. The Doctor's been put in such a bad position. I'm pretty sure he's gonna go down soon.
There is another player from Uncanny near him, I think. No, there wasn't. So it is just that one kill by Red Moon onto Doctor getting caught out. And it's one of those things, do you hold that against Uncanny? Should they have been a little bit more aware? Should they have been looking out a bit better and kind of expecting the unexpected?
I can't really put it. I don't blame Uncanny too much, right? With that playing path and everything, and the fact that this isn't like a set, tournament in the sense where you can easily study teams and where they would go, because we've had different playing paths, different zones, almost like every map. Like I'm sure it's Erangel, the one that we play the most on, but sometimes some groups don't play, and then when groups do play, sometimes the playing path is just completely different. So, they lose a player. I wouldn't really say it's a big mistake, but there is still something to be learned, right? And the next time you're looting North or South George Pool and you want to cross over to the other section of it, maybe just do a little quick drive around the whole entire compound area, see if you can spot some cars. And it only takes away maybe 5-6 seconds from your loot time, but then at least you're safe and you learn something right there. So something to be learned there still.
For sure. Team's now starting to rotate a little bit deeper into the center of the circle. Team Galore got 0 points in the last game, representing Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic / Slovakia communities. Chazmak, I think, are also, another team kind of a little bit around them, deeper into the center circle, might be able to catch them out. Oh, this sprays towards that member of Floor, yet he's still alive. Come on, Chazmak.
Oh, no.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, that's 4 players. 4 players with automatic rifles, M4. Some were prone, some were crouched, all shooting one target. Yeah, that guy was not getting anywhere. And that car is fast, the car he was driving, but it's also, a car that blows up pretty easily. So, speed versus armor, at the end of the day, neither combination will let you survive 4 players of Chazmak shooting at them 4s.
Exactly. And now they reposition based off phase 2 popping up, which isn't too bad. Phase 2 was relatively nice. It moved away from Military Island. It sticks towards that southwest side of the map. A lot of hillsides to be controlled. Quarry is in play, at least the hillside around Quarry. YMCA, though, on this northeastern side, have to face the brunt of Eastern Stars. 2 of their players went down early. The hands of Lemniscate. Let's see if they can keep going.
YMCA with only 2 right now on your screen. Definitely making a big blunder mistake, just crashing into a building without any scouting, without any players ready to cover. So they're down to 2. I mean, it is Erangel. It's not as punishing as, say, a map like Sandhawk when you're down members, but big getting into a fight. They have 1 elimination so far, and when they get 1 elimination, they will get at least 3 more or die doing so. So I want to see them. What fight are they going to take now? And actually, they're actually rotating away from where the enemy players are. Maybe just to reset a little bit, gain some info, and then go back and take the fight.
It was on to one of the players of Red Moon, if I'm not mistaken. And I like that from Big, because they were coming in from the outside of the circle, so they didn't have a lot of information, and you take the kill, you move away, it means you can kind of reset. There's open fields in front of them down on that northern side of the circle, so they're able to kind of grab a bit of information and reevaluate what direction they want to go. It's still only phase 2. Patience can often be quite key in these moments of the game. The Fairy Pier Hill is a really big part of the phase 2. You have 4 Menge men, you have 7 up, you have Respect in the compound down below, and then you have another team. I'm not quite sure with all the text, but there is another team to the south to 7 up.
Yeah, you say this is phase 2, but this may as well be phase 3 or 4. So much of the circle is water, unplayable ground, right? And you got that skinny bridge just connecting the military island and onwards. And I love where these teams are positioned. All of the teams here towards the center. Rex, 4 Romanian men, 7 up. These are all very strong positions. It does look like they're just hugging each other, but there's big elevation differences. There's compounds mixed into those, and all of those are a good starting point with good exit strategies as well in case the circle hard shifts away from the center of the map.
Yeah, the Fairy Pier Hill is a kind of, you know, it's like a 2-bubble hill where you can have like one either side and they're not really threatening each other, and they kind of can stay protected and huddled down. Red Moon, he moves around and gets caught out. I don't know what happened with Mihi and why he was there, because they got an initial kill on the Red Moon in around this roughly same area of the map. So yeah, a little bit of an F for Big.
A little bit of a blunder there. Usually we don't see a team like Big just lose a player without, you know, being committed to a fight. They rarely ever just, you know, lose players on rotation because they are an experienced team, and the only time they do lose players is when it's a fully committed team fight. So a little bit of a slip up, but they have had really good games today. So maybe they're just a little bit mentally drained, and either way, mistakes happen, and we're back on the map. So we're about to go into the next circle. We're about to go into phase 3. Yes, this is only phase 2, but it's looking like phase 3 already because of so much of the playable area. The circle is just water. I mean, so much of the circle is unplayable area. My mistake. And that would be, you know, that huge giant river running across the center of the map, so to say.
I think there's one area of the map that isn't really being controlled that kind of should be in this stage of the game, and that's the hill to the south of Gaka/Chopsticks. That Greek army are there, but they're more across the road.
Yeah.
That hillside, I think, is perfect. And just as phase 3 pops up and it shifts up north, that hill is such an important part of this phase 3.
Yes, that hill is a very large, expansive hill. You can actually fit 2 to 3 teams on there.
Yep.
And they could pretty much kind of coincide. But the thing that's so important about that hill, I love that you bring it up, Imperium, is the vision, right? You can see to the north, and you can see all of the open fields to your south. So if this zone shifts off that hill, you can get a good idea of what's open, and not just what's open. You could set up good pressure to keep a certain position in that field line open. And now Big, just going big right now. They're down to 3, but they are not shying away from any fights. A 3v1 situation, a very good grenade, but I don't think that's enough. Parik trying to readjust his positioning to continue this 1v3 fight.
Yeah, it's not going to end well for Lore, like I said. This game getting 0 points. He's trying to run away, and yeah, down he goes. It was only a matter of time. Take care then by now, Team Big. You take those kills, you move on up. But, you know, that fight I think it's unfortunately stopped them from moving up the hill. I think that was mainly their intention, but they spotted those Glore players and they obviously were going to take that fight, because we do see a couple of teams are already up there, and I feel if they try and push up that hill now,
Yeah.
they're going to get taken out.
Yeah, the hill's instantly occupied on that zone shift. So both you and I recognize the importance of that hill, but also the different teams. I think there's 2 teams set up there, and I mentioned you can almost fit up to 3, so it's already being occupied and taken. We have 7 up right here, taking up the eastern side of that hill. We have Lemniscate taking, positions on the shacks that are, scattered across the field. And, the center of the circle is the field area. So there's a good chance that, oh my, Versace just absolutely lasering that player out of the buggy. Headshots galore.
I like that 2-2 split in the field from Lemniscate.
I do.
It was all 4 players in one shack. I say, no way. But that 2-2 spread, I like it. It allows them to have more angles, more cover, more of a backup. We see Greek Army, though, still on the hills above Ferry Pier. Respect suffered a knock early on. The revive came out, still together as a full squad. Phase 3 Blue Zone closing in. 14 teams left, 50 players. Big are going to have to worry about Mega Power.
Mega Power and Big getting into it again. Oh, good shots. Mazzaro getting down to half HP, and the headshot comes through. Fella gets the finish. He doesn't get the finish just yet. Going for the finish, and Mazzaro does go down. He couldn't even see Mazzaro in the bushes, but the game sense of knowing where he was knocked and having a good idea of where he was going to try and crawl to. That's a really good one for Mega Power. Now it's a 3v2 for them if they want to decide to continue this fight. And I love how we're showing the map right here. All the teams have rotated. They've kind of set up in different positions. And we got a good idea of what's still open on the next potential circle shift.
Red Moon would spread on that western side, but I'd like to see them maybe push, or one of their players push a little bit deeper onto the edge of the hill that's closer to the center of the circle. It would allow them to I think, just grab that extra bit of information to prepare for the next circle shift. La Familia waited in the military island for quite a while, and I think it's good that they waited until as late as possible, because now there's a lot more space on the southern edge of the circle for them.
That circle shift just right on top of that hill that we're talking about. So I said we could fit up to 3 teams, but given the fact that it's pretty much the only part of the zone left in the game, we're going to see teams just really cluster in here, and we're going to have like 4 to 5 teams trying to survive in here. We have the Greek Army trying to find some sort of position on this hill. They lose 1, but they are rotating together as a team. So even though they lose 1 player, they could get maybe 2 in alive. They lose another one right there. But it is much better than them rotating one by one at a time.
Why are they trying to go up the hill in this? Come on. You're like a circle after that hill was in the dead center. What do you expect? I see where you're coming from, that they all rotated together. I get it. But at the end of the day, it's still only going to get you that far when you're trying to go up that hill at that point in the game. Poor timing, Greek Army. Learned from that.
Yeah, they were rotating with 4 players, right? I think you always want to utilize the 4 players to entry in, not a blind rotation. And the Eastern Stars, they were like, you are not paying rent for this shack, and payment is due. And well, if you're late on payment, Eastern Stars are just going to take your lives away. So Eastern Stars with some really good right there, completely frustrated out.
Thank God Eastern Stars aren't my landlords. Jesus. Man. If that's how I'm getting evicted, I'm definitely going to make sure I pay my rent on time from now on. But YMCA, that's the last player. I'm just trying to find somewhere in the circle to call his own. But as he threads closer to the chopsticks area, he does make it in. But he is, of course, in the sightlines of both Mega Power and Team Big. Uncanny on the southern edge of the chopsticks, finds one of the Mega Power players, finds another, but Papa goes down. Mega Power stay alive.
Yeah, Mega Power did lose that one player. Those last few bullets came in just in time, and that player does bleed out. YMCA, well, I mean, he just pulled out up here thinking it was probably clear since it's on the edge side of the circle, but now he realizes Mega Power and Big are both here. He's got that car, but it's going to be a really tough car to get out of these trenches. So maybe he might be able to make it into the next zone. Meanwhile, Eastern Stars just playing on the edge with 4 members, really controlling the area, taking shots at Lemon State. And I love that push right there. The next zone is away from them, but they're gonna take the time to confirm the elim points before pushing in, and they have the time to do that. The SLR, absolutely beautiful.
Well, yeah, cover what's behind you before you push in ahead. It means you're not gonna get stabbed. A little bit of a connection by Versace on the Bazzi does slow Eastern Stars down a little bit. At this, he's even further up north. He should be pushing out those buildings and trying to get a little bit of an anchor point closer to the center of the circle. The Greek Army players are still up as a 2-man team. The full squad push, it's kept them alive as 4 Romanian men. The other Romanian side going to be taking the fight against 7 Up. 3 knocks in the favor of 4 Romanian men. Leaves just 1 player left alive. Sarah jumps out the window, around the corner he goes. Doesn't want to go too deep because right now he's on his own and 2 of his teammates are knocked down. 3 knocks. He's nowhere near him for the time being. It is going to be that 1v1. Sarah gets a knock, but he's going to get counter knocked. And in the end, that's the price you pay when you go in on your own. Redux tries to go for it in, but 7 Up, they survive. What the hell?
It was a 2v1, but 7 Up got a revive, and then just the gunfire just was a little bit more on point for 7 Up. And yeah, I thought 4 Romanian men had it in the bag. It was a 2v1, but congrats to 7 Up. That full-on crash, I believe they were the aggressors too. They take that spot over, but it's not over just yet. This is a hot commodity in this zone. That is one of the few hard covers left in the map, and I think they might get pressed again. Respect coming in on the edge, along with Chasmot Gaming. I love how they're leaving Shadowwind in the blue, so to say, to provide the cover fire and hopefully to suppress the team, but I don't think he has a car, so he can't manage to do it for too long. Now just running into the zone, and it is a complete cluster all around the edges of the map.
You get pre-nades being thrown up by La Familia. Shadowwind does make it out of the blue and into the edge of the circle. 7 Up have to turn their attentions on the expect. Like you said, it's hot commodity. The circle shifts over to the northwest. Eastern Stars looking for the last player of Greek Army. They're still up as a full squad, while Red Moon, they control the west.
Redmond with a beautiful split, a 1-2-1 split, keeping 2 players at the central focus point. The players on the edge to push all the teams and direct traffic away from their vulnerable sides and into more of the heart of the battle, where they will be forcing them to not just fight, the 2-man army of Red Moon in the middle, but all the other teams trying to get into the zone as well.
Have the anchor point. Stay there, stay quiet, give information over, but allow the rest of your team to do what they can without you being knocked down. Hands. X marks the spot for him. Athos and the Eastern Stars crew, Doran loses his life, unfortunately, at the hands of one of the 7 Up players. I believe is the last player of Greek Army. Could be looking for a bit of a backstab. Athos lay down. It's Red Moon. Red Moon on the western side. The angle that you talked about, that spread, is very heavily working out for the Italian side.
Yeah, just you saw the distance, and I don't think Eastern Stars could commit to even shooting at a player that far away when they have so much to worry about. So it's that side anchor point to just whittle down teams. You might not get the knock, but it is hurting them in the long run. And at the end of the game, Red Moon can very well take this if they play it out correctly. They have quite a few teams on the south side, and Big coming into the fray now, as well as a duo. Suave goes down. Beast is the last one up. He's trying to throw down some smokes to give himself some cover. And this is that southern edge battle. This is the battle that Red Moon really needs to win if they want to close out the game.
Italy against Italy. La Familia against Red Moon. Clay's knocked. Dizzy racing Neva boy still staying alive, but there's very little cover in front of them. Plus, they do have 7 Up to the east of them. Nice use of the smoke from La Familia, but it's not going to stop them from getting naded. The stray bullets in through the smoke from 7-Up is continuing to mount a lot of pressure on La Familia. But if they step up too quickly, if they step up too much, they could get backstabbed. And that's exactly what's happened. Is Wasted with a nade of his own, gets a knock into one of the 7-Up players. Eastern Star still alive. Big are eliminated. 4 teams are alive.
If you're going to commit to a push, you got to commit all the way through. You can't stop short and just start spraying and going prone and sitting there, because you saw those return grenades. They are going to react. La Familia isn't going to let you just sit in front of their face and pepper them with bullets. They're going to throw some grenades back. So if you want to push, you really got to push. Kapahala last alive for Eastern Stars and gets sprayed through the smokes. A very good finish for the Eastern Stars, though. 7-Up with 12 eliminations, with 4 alive, and they control the high ground. This should be their game. This should be their chicken dinner, unless they make a crucial mistake.
Hold it. The prophecy comes through, or if it's a typical Zute caster curse. Looking good for them, though. Said to yourself, the spread they have. Red Moon, though, holding on to the dip on phase 8. It's popped up. It's gone continually towards 7-Up. They're even sending one into the blue to try and grab a little bit of extra information, but don't get knocked down. Oh, no. Nade being cooked up by Zans. Another one by Coco. Versace takes a little bit of damage. His health is tickled down. The spread from Red Moon has 2 players left up. It's good. They have to bide their time. Let La Familia do the distraction. Either way, it's been a great final game for the Italian community. Both of their teams in the top 3.
I love how 7-Up is respecting La Familia now. Do you notice how they're not getting too much closer where they got grenaded earlier? But now that they got the opening knock, this time around, he's going to go for that
Lovely by
he's
Starkey.
going for the knock. Yeah, Starkey does get traded, but it's better than him just sitting back and getting grenaded. Now 7-Up is readjusting and positioning to try and finish out La Familia. Wasted down to 1 HP, gets another knock, but finally gets taken out. We're down to a 2v2 situation. 7-Up versus Red Moon. Red Moon goes down. Zans finds the opening. 2v1. Coco last alive for Red Moon. Can he get it done? He gets tagged through the smoke. And that is said and done. The hit marker through the smoke. 7-Up with the hustle at the end, taking out 2 teams back-to-back simultaneously and finishing the game with a massive amount of eliminations.
Like, I gotta say, I so much see the potential in 7-Up. I really do. I know Starkey previously played in the Entropic lineup in the fall split of PMCO back in 2021. And this is an exciting team, but their volatility has to be continually highlighted. Game 2 of the day, they got 19 points. Game 3, 0 points. This game, chicken dinner with a lot of eliminations. Hot and cold, guys. You know, you're kind of breaking my heart because I see it, and then you kind of have the 0-pointer. Man, it's rough. Find your feet, find the balance. I need to see kind of minimum 3 good results in these days.
Well, I mean, I want to draw back to PMGC once again. One of the top teams in the world. Also, you know, they still have consistency problems, and I gotta point out that would be Na'Vi, right? Na'Vi, very strong team. Overall, consistency-wise, they perform at a high level, but they have hot and cold days as well. And I'm not saying it's a good thing to have hot and cold, but it's an ongoing process, and even the top teams in the world are still trying to figure out their consistency. So it's okay to see that, you know, out of this team. I think they still have a really great day, and when push came to shove, they really know how to secure the chicken under tough situations.
And La Familia, I was just talking about them right before this game, how they something was missing, right? They weren't really looking as good as they were in their first 4 games. Well, they showed it. They said, okay, you're going to talk about this, Imperium. We'll show you what we've got. So happy to see. And the fact that Red Moon, their Italian counterparts, got a good result themselves. Again, fantastic finish for the Italian community.
I do think that might be the game where the community gets the most amount of points. A second and third. If it wasn't for 7-Up, it would be by far the biggest point day for them. So we'll just have to see after, you know, we get into the points and have it all tallied up, Imperium.
And they were coming into today in 5th place, having played, you know, kind of 6 games, give or take. I say 6 games because, you know, in comparative to all of the 8 games across the 2 days, but Romania were in front of them, and they've been looking overall pretty good. But this kind of end game result, I could see them passing the Nordic countries and possibly Germany. Although Big did have an okay couple of games for themselves. I thought that where the circle ended was great. That hillside that I highlighted in phase 3, phase 4. I thought it was great, the amount of teams that held on to it. I would like to see one team go there in phase 2, but the fact that when phase 3 popped up and it did shift heavily towards there, teams didn't disappoint us.
Yeah, the teams are quick to recognize just how important that hill is, and you know, we might have seen a team there a little bit earlier, but still, I think it's you know, teams are just waiting for the circle shift because you never really know where it goes. But when you do figure out where it goes, we saw that hillside occupied instantly. So these teams definitely have their map knowledge down. They know what the crucial points on the map are. Yep. And at the end of the day, it was that hill where the circle ended on, and the team that controlled that top hill, they were the team that finished it out. And it was 7-Up, which, by the way, took that massive fight with the Romania men. It came down to a 1v2 situation where they got that revive in. And so just by the tiniest of margins, they win that fight, which also led to them winning the entirety of the game. And that's when gun skill really comes into play, because you never know. You win this one small fight and you can win the war.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, we still have the match rankings and the overall community rankings to show you guys. But before that, we're going to take you to a quick break. Don't go away. See you guys in a couple of minutes. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us as we prepare to show you the match rankings from the last game. It's myself, Imperium, and the wonderful Zute, and it was a confident win from 7-Up in the final game of the day.
A very, very confident win. They took that fight with the 4 Romanian men, barely inched it through, and they got that full reset to go through. And well, I mean, 17 elims, 15 placement points. You see it right there on your screen. A 32-point finish for 7-Up. Really well done for them.
And I was talking to one of the players on Discord. 7-Up is actually the former Entropic roster. The XANZS player is used to be known as Sans. I think it's still pronounced the same, but instead of an S, it's an X. Firstly, that's a stupid way of saying that name. Just call yourself Sans, okay? Secondly, their player with the Chinese symbols. He was previously known as either Relax or Chorch. So it is all of the ex-Entropic roster that played previously in PMCOs, and that adds up because in the past,
makes sense,
much as it makes sense, because in the past, as much as they failed to kind of push further than the likes of PMCO, they always showed a level of potential when it came to aggression, when they had a good game. They had a very good game. So this is matching up, but I do feel, don't know whether it's just a name change, I do feel that there's a little bit of an evolution on how they're performing when they're showing results like that. 32 points, can't argue with it.
Yeah, typically teams that are just, starting to hit their stride do get really big games when they do get big games. And then we talk about the consistency of 7-Up. We've seen them make some blunders as well, but that will get ironed out in time. Another thing I want to note, though, Red Moon and La Familia closing it off for their community right there. 3rd and 4th place overall finish, a combined total of 27 points. That's definitely a lot of points, but that even just puts into perspective just how big of a game 7-Up had by themselves. 32 versus the combined total of Red Moon and La Familia. Eastern Star,
for sure,
just consistent as ever. They had I think they had one bad game today, and they had 2. They had a mishap on Sandhawk, I think, with the med strap. And then the first game of Erangel, definitely, some crazy circle shifts. But when possible, they are still very consistent. So that's good to see out of the Eastern Stars team.
Definitely. Showdown Gaming, as the Seoul UK representatives, once again took the fight to Mega Power and Pachinki and lost it for the second time today. So I would like to believe that they'll maybe take a step back and reevaluate. I would recommend that they look to get advice from their UK teammates in the 100, because the 100, of course, formerly known as Exquisite Decode, formerly known as Lacanostra MVP, they have never been afraid in the past of adjusting their drop spots when they've had teams kind of drop around them. So get that level of feedback, get that level of advice, because if I were you, I'd think about changing your drop spot. There's plenty of other spaces around. 7-Up, I think it's 7-Up, I've had like pretty much all of apartments and school to themselves, and even a little bit of Rosshawk. You could easily overtake one of those areas, right? Because I really think it's affecting the results on what could be some very successfully potential games for Showdown.
And I want to add something onto that. Like, I think in previous years, right, people just assume Picado, Pachinki, Boot Camp, the center of the map is the most effective starting point on the map, because statistically you're able to rotate to the more central positions on every potential possible circle. That's just how it goes. When you start off center, your likelihood of doing that is higher. But if the past PMGCs have anything to show for, right, the Nova team, they don't drop center of the map. Na'Vi, who placed, a really good placement in 2nd place this past PMGC, they drop in North George Pool, way far away from any center position of the map. So I think I just want to also just demystify why, you know, people might think Tajiki is such a good place to start off the game. It's not. It's honestly not.
Yeah,
the meta has evolved to a point where you don't have to contest for your hot drop. You can quite literally drop somewhere else and just maximize the efficiency, figure out the rotations from that area, and you could be a world-class team still.
Exactly. Couldn't have said that better myself. Unfortunately, we don't have the overall standings for you guys tonight, but we will be sure to feature tomorrow because there's, of course, another day of action this week in the PMECT, the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. Join us again, myself and Zute, tomorrow, same time, same place, 6 p.m. CET. We're not going to go anywhere. Thank you for tuning in. Stay awesome. Have a lovely evening. See you all tomorrow.